Captain's log. Stardate? No. Screw that.
Stardate.
Captain's log. Time about 4:15. I'm here on the ship, the going smelly, with me crewmate, Yee. What's your name? I forgot already.
I be Captain Fetid.
Captain Fetid? You're not the captain of this ship, I'm the captain of this ship.
I'm the captain of this half of this ship, ye fucking scrub.
Alright, you can have your half of the ship, I'll have my half. Oh, why do we even have half a ship anyway? It was something to do with that there virus they got back on the
I've got a tale to tell you about that there, landlubber.
Oh, I have you?
Now here's how the story goes. We found out about a treasure called the One Piece, there's no doubt. Now we gotta make a podcasty type thing, but a virus on the mainland delayed recording.
Oh,
That's the story.
That, you know what, that lines up quite well with the story I had in my head, which is that we are sailing, we're looking for treasure, as ye do. And we came upon this here treasure chest right here, which is just full of books. Bit disappointing for treasure, but you know, that works. And there was a little inscription on the back, there was. It said, "To ye who reads all 999 stories of the Pirate King's reign, read one more with a shipmate true, and the One Piece you shall obtain." So I think we're on our way to some mighty fine treasure.
Some mighty fine treasure indeed.
Yeah. So this only contains the first 200 and something stories out of 1,000. But we've read it.
I think it's 206, 208, something like that.
Yeah, let's have a look. Let's have a look in here. It's this one here, I believe.
I'm not exactly sure why we're Cornwall pirates.
I don't know.
217 chapters.
216 chapters.
Oh yeah, because of what's the Romance Dawn.
Oh yes, Romance Dawn, the little prequel story. That's very that way around. That way, very good. I like that.
There's actually 3 of them, I think. I know there's 2 for sure, but
yeah, I'm gonna drop the accent now. So yeah, there's this version of Romance Dawn, which is like a. Which one is this? Is this the original?
Well, there's the original, and then there's the one that Oda puts it. So Oda got put in the original Romance Dawn, put in a young manga writer's comic, kind of like a side one to Shonen Jump.
Okay, yeah.
And then he got another one into like a more mainstream version. I can't remember if it is Shonen Jump, but he tweaked it so that rather than Shanks, who he gets the straw hat and the gum fruit of, he gets it from his grandpa.
Okay.
To hide the story from the new readers. Which he put in the back. Yes, I'm a cheeky new author.
Nice. Yeah, so the version I've been reading is, of course, these Tankobon versions, published by Viz Media, so that means I'm stuck with the awful translations of Zolo and Rogue Town, things of that ilk.
I actually
I do hear that...
I kind of prefer Rogue Town.
Yeah,
as opposed to Log Town. It makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, okay, so Log Town, the explanation for that is that it's where the prologue and epilogue meet, so it's like the log town. I don't know. It makes more sense in Japanese, probably, if you know English and also speak Japanese, maybe. But yeah, Rogue Town just sort of sounds nicer. Zolo cannot be forgiven, though. And unfortunately, that is the one translation that they can't change in newer volumes, even though the translation is generally a lot better. They're still stuck with Zolo.
It is indeed a shite.
I like to think that Zolo is just like a nickname that everybody gives him, and he just rolls with it. His actual name is Zoro.
I like to think that Viz and 4Kids are just terrible companies who...
I mean, that is...
have no idea what manga or anime are.
Indeed. But we know what manga is, because we've been reading it.
We have indeed, or you've been reading it. I've read quite a bit of it.
Indeed.
I know that the manga story and the anime story line up quite well I've read it before quite a long time ago, so I read the bits that I don't remember quite as well, and the more important bits.
Yeah. So, as for what I've been reading, like I said, it's the first 23 volumes. So it's everything from the beginning up to the end of the Alabasta arc. So, everything up through Vivi, basically. So then, shall we just jump in and talk about the story as it goes?
Yeah, so you said... Right, did you want to skim over the pre-Grand Line parts, or do we want to go into them in detail?
So, I mean, there's not a whole lot of detail to go into. I mean, more or less, like I said, it begins with Romance Dawn. Luffy gets his straw hat from Shanks, who almost gets eaten by a shark. And yeah, he goes off on the Grand Line, sets off on adventure to find the One Piece, left behind by good old Gold D. Roger.
In later versions of that, the shark is actually a Sea King, by the way.
Right, that might have been the version I read. It has been a while since I read the first few chapters.
I know that there is one version where there's a shark.
Okay. Well, regardless, that's what they do. I don't think anything else much happens in this first volume. I guess on his initial travels he meets Zoro or Zolo or whatever.
Yeah, and along with Kobe.
Yes, Kobe, yeah.
I don't know how far into the manga you are, but he does come back.
So I've seen him on a few of the cover arts for newer volumes, but he hasn't come back in the main story.
He does become quite an important character later on, but we actually don't know in the manga quite why yet.
Okay,
we just know that he is.
Yeah. So, I suppose for context, I have seen some of the later story before. I did play One Piece Pirate Warriors 3 about 3 years ago.
Oh, actually, no, I'm forgetting. Sorry, we do know now why, but very recently, actually.
Oh, okay. Alright, so yeah, I played One Piece Pirate Warriors 3 long time ago. I had no context for any of what's going on, so I remember very little of it. Basically, I know they go to a prison island at some point, and that's about all I can remember past this.
Yep, Impel Down, but that's well past this.
Yeah. So, yeah, okay, so moving on from Volume 1, where, we meet Zoro and Axe-Hand Morgan, who briefly comes back later, I guess. What happens then? Buggy. Buggy the Clown. Love this guy. He's
my
cool.
favourite.
Yeah, he's so silly. He goes slicey slice and chops himself up, and he's cool.
Well, actually, no. I have two favourites. There's Buggy and Bon Cray.
Okay.
Because Bon Cray, oh, what a man. Well, what an Okama.
Well, yes. Yeah, so Buggy, or Baggy, as his name was originally supposed to be pronounced, I think Oda just sort of made a mistake when translating it into English and everyone just ran with it.
There is actually a reason for that. He was watching a movie where there was it used to be like boogie as in dancing, boogie woogie.
Oh, right, yeah.
He saw a character with that name in a movie and went, God damn it, that character's got my character's name, I've got to change it. So it changed from Boogie to Buggy.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I remember reading something about that in one of the SBS sections. Wasn't sure entirely how that went down. But yeah, Buggy's cool. He's got a few entourages that aren't, particularly important or anything, but, just in general, I think a lot of these early chapters are just introducing, the main crew, as we'll come to know them later.
And we can't forget the nearly third member of the crew, by the way, Gaimon.
Who the hell was that?
The little chest man, the cabbage man in a chest who was protecting his treasure. Yeah, he nearly became the third member of the crew.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez, that would have been interesting.
It would have been. I wanted it. He would have been a very powerful member.
I suppose so, I mean, he did survive on that island just in a bush. Okay, so yeah. Then we got some more Buggy stuff. So, okay, so here's something that I really like, especially about these early chapters, is there's a lot of flashbacks to characters' backstories. It's something that...
That's one thing that Oda does very well, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, because a lot of these characters, they show up, and then, one fight happens and they're gone. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. But with these little flashbacks, it really helps you to care about them, and, it gets you invested in the world.
There's one particular part that every single person who ever watches the anime of One Piece, because you get into the manga pretty quickly, but with the anime, it's a bit of a slow burn. You've got to... It takes some convincing. So there's one particular part that everyone tells you, just get to this bit, you'll know why we watch it. Just get to this bit, you'll never stop watching yourself. And that's Nami's backstory, obviously.
Yes.
So the Fishman Island arc, the flashback there is kind of what cements in One Piece the concept of the flashback and why Oda is possibly the best author doing them.
Yeah, absolutely. That is... I mean, but before that point, I kind of didn't care about Nami. I was like, yeah, she's around, doesn't seem like she's doing much, what's the point of her being here? After that, I'm like, yeah, she's an essential member of the team. Please bring her everywhere. She's cool.
And that's exactly why the flashbacks continue going on, but...
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I love them. He puts so much effort into the backstory of the characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it really shows that he's... If there's one thing that's been shown throughout the years, it's that Oda, when he puts a character or a small detail in, it's always on purpose, and it will always come up 8 years later as something really important.
Yeah. I mean, even something so simple as Luffy's little scar that he has on his left eye.
Yeah.
That is quite early on. It's in the Romance Dawn section, but it's even explained how he got that.
It is indeed.
It's really cool. Before we get to the Fishman Island stuff, we got some of this. Whatever islands this is. I don't know the names of the islands.
Which one are you on about?
It's the one where they meet Usopp.
Sugar Island.
Right, okay. And so this part, I think, is kind of...
No, sorry, kind of...
Oh, okay, right. It's almost like a prototype for Vivi, this Princess Kaya, or Mistress Kaya. In that, she is this highfalutin person of wealth and status, who learns to love adventure and through pirate business,
Yeah, I can see where you're going.
Yeah. But, it's just neat. I apologize for any viewers who are bored by me just saying, oh, this is cool, but that's just One Piece in a nutshell, really. Everything is cool, and you should read it.
As Americans would say, it's neat. Everything's neat.
In fact, I would go so far as to say it is based.
Oh, I don't think you want to use that one. Based and red-pilled.
I think I do. It is based, and red-pilled, and blue-pilled, and every other colour-pilled.
Well, I hope it's not black-pilled. That's a little bit too far.
Well, it's black and white, so,
Well, I'll take that.
Okay. I was just flicking through. Here, this right here, this is what I love about the SBS sections. You get little sketches, you get little details, you get writer interviews. It's so cool, and the best thing ever, and Oda's sketches are amazing. You can't even tell what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And the front of most of the covers are user-requested drawings from Oda as well.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I always wondered how he got the ideas for these things.
It's really cool. He really interacts with his audience like no other mangaka, especially since, the man's been making One Piece near non-stop for the last, I think, 20 years.
22 years, I think.
Yeah. So, for him to still be not only putting this much effort in terms of the writing and the drawing, but also actually interacting with things outside of his own story, because the life of a mangaka can be hell at times.
Oh, for sure.
It's really impressive how much love he has for his own story.
Yeah, and you can see it, every single frame, every panel is just filled with so much love for One Piece, and the love of adventure, the love of cool characters is just, you can tell that at every step of the way he is just loving what he's doing, and that's really good. So yeah, this is where we get introduced to old Usopp, the best boy, probably.
The Sniper King, yeah, he's the most powerful, and there's actually a running joke, kind of more of a theory than a joke at this point.
Yeah.
So you're probably not far enough into the manga to know this, but there's a theory that Usopp, his name is a combination of, I believe it's Uso, which is lie, and Aesop, which is fable.
Right, yeah, I believe that's right, yeah.
And there's an idea that every single lie that he tells eventually comes true. So,
okay, so it's
as with Aesop's fables, there's truth in the lie.
Right. Yeah.
Because things like, he talks about a gigantic goldfish, which we'll see later on within what you've read.
Okay, yeah.
Dorian Broggy fighting the goldfish. But he tells Kaya this tale of him fighting the giant goldfish whose poop is so big it's an island. Well, Little Garden is actually the goldfish's poop.
Really? Well, you know what? I did not pick up on that. That's really cool.
Yep.
And hey, Usopp sounds kind of like Aesop, so maybe there's something to that. Yeah. That's the thing. Everyone's names has some kind of meaning. Like Sanji over here, I haven't gotten to this part, obviously, but I do know that all of his brothers and sisters are named after numbers. Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Not just their names, though, but also their character designs.
Yes.
Almost every character design is based on a movie that Oda's seen.
Oh, really?
Which I think is really cool. For example, Sanji's based on a very famous Japanese actor.
Okay.
He's also put out in one of the SBSs where each character would be from if they were from the real world. He said that Luffy would be Brazilian. I believe it was Sanji was French. Zoro Japanese, which is kind of... It might tie into the current story in the manga because we have an island at the moment that basically is Japan. So that might tie into the story.
Interesting.
Yeah, so each of the characters, not just their names, but their backgrounds, there's a lot of thought put into them.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So, the Black Cat crew, Kuroneko guys, they're pretty neat. They go slishy slashy. Django, is his name Django, I think?
Just Django, like Django Fett.
Just Django. Yeah, Django. I like Django Fett. Okay. Yeah, he's really neat. I love him, and I love his little story that he has in the cover pages. It was really cool to see him coming back.
Him joining the Navy.
Yeah.
Getting beat up alongside... who was it that he joined with?
Was it Axan Morgan? Or was it someone else?
No, I don't think it was. Because Axan Morgan got taken away. He got put into prison.
What was it? I don't think it's even in this one, but...
Oh, well.
Yeah. Whatever. It's neat.
There's no character that's forgotten, either. All of them carry on.
Yeah. Black Cat guy. I forget what his motivation was, but... You know, whatever. He's bad. You got to beat him up.
He wanted money.
Do that.
That was his motivation. He wanted to get out of the pirate life.
Ah, right. I see. Wanted to settle down and be a little boy.
Yeah. So he had Django hypnotize his own crew, one of the Navy members of a ship they attacked, to think that he was Captain Kuro.
I see.
And then obviously had him killed. Took his head to the Navy. So the Navy considers Captain Kuro dead. So that's his whole plan, is to suck up to Kaya. He killed her parents. Now he's trying to kill her by slowly poisoning her. And he's eventually going to take her money and become a wealthy man out of crime.
Yes. Okay, I see. So yeah, that's where we get Usopp, and he joins the crew.
He does indeed. He tried the good old Captain Usopp.
Yes. He definitely muscles his way in there. Okay, here's something. Blood. Plenty of blood in this. I imagine there's significantly less blood in the anime.
Significantly in the beginning, actually.
Okay.
Later on, it does tend... There's obviously quite a bit of censorship for the Western side of things, but...
Oh yeah, for the Western.
And there's a little bit of toning down on the boobage later on, because Oda gets pretty crazy with his boobs.
I've seen some of the later designs for the female characters.
I kind of... It's a little bit cringy, but I kind of like it, because he really... Everything about Oda's art style is he tones things up to its absolute logical extreme. The men are as manly as can be. If you're fat, you're incredibly fat. If you're ugly, good lord, are you hideous. And if you're a pretty woman, you are impossibly beautiful.
Yeah, he does not do half measures. That is something that can be absolutely said about Oda's art. But yeah, just sort of, I mean, just in general, like, all of the character designs, they're very distinctive. You know, no two characters look the same. And I think that's quite impressive considering how many bloody characters there are.
It can be a bit of a turn-off when you're trying to get into the series. I couldn't watch more than 3 episodes of the anime without getting turned off by it. But then when I actually gave it a chance, I started to love the character designs. Because Alvida, in the first episode, oh, good lord, is she hideous. I hate her.
Yeah.
But
that was definitely a moment where I just wanted to get to the next page as quickly as possible. But yeah, like it. I mean, you know, it's pretty satisfying when she gets punched in the face. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She gets punched so hard she becomes smooth. All the fat slides off.
Just slips right off. Okay, so yeah, devil fruit powers. That is this series' big fantasy thing, is devil fruit powers.
One of the two.
Luffy, of course.
It's definitely the big thing at the beginning. There's a power later on that you've actually already seen, which is another one of the things. Oda seeds things. You've seen it in the very first chapter, in Romance Dawn.
Oh, interesting. I wonder what that could be.
Yeah, so... But for the moment, all of the powers at the moment are either devil fruits or, like Captain Kuro's... the pussyfoot maneuver, was it, I think?
Something like that, yeah.
But yeah, it's all either, like, individual fighting styles that, like... Because the humans in this world, they're not like the humans in our world. Oda's stated that they can live up to, like, 180.
Oh, wow.
Like, 100 is still... It's about 60 in our world. Like, they can get... 50 or 60 is 100 in our world. So they can get pretty old.
Okay.
And they also, obviously, they have quite a bit of stamina to them. They have strength.
I mean,
so...
There's multiple times in these when, you know, people get cut up so much that they should have bled out a few hours ago, and they just keep going.
For example, when Kabaji and Zoro are fighting, Buggy's unicyclist swordsman, and Zoro, in the manga, he cuts himself to kind of show off, like, this wound is nothing to me. In the anime, he lets Kabaji cut him, like, haha, what can you do? But he just falls over like, yeah, I'm gonna sleep now. Fight's done, you do it, Luffy.
Yeah. Fair enough, yeah. But yeah, devil fruits then. So obviously Luffy here has the Gomu Gomu no Mi, or the Gum Gum fruit in the English version, which lets him be a rubbery boy. And he just goes strench and grabs things.
Yeah, it's...
Very, very funny.
It's one of the best ideas I've seen for a power. Oda said that he created the Gomu Gomu no Mi for his main character because he didn't want a boring character to draw. He wanted it to be fun for him. And I think that really let him go wild with individual pages as well as his powers that he develops later on with the fruit.
Yeah. I gotta say, it is definitely refreshing to have a shonen hero whose power is not me strong. I mean, Luffy is definitely very strong, but you know, the gum gum fruit definitely lets him use that strength in very interesting ways.
There are many characters that outstrength Luffy. It's all about his. He's a stupid person, but his fight IQ is very high. He can come up with strategies on the fly. That's where
he's
Luffy's
a bit of a
strength
Goku.
Lies.
Bit of a Goku.
Yeah, a bit of a Goku.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. I mean, all shonen heroes share a bit of that, you know. Strong, like food, quite dumb.
Zoro is definitely the more typical shonen protagonist.
Yeah. from what I've seen, he's a lot more of that fighto type. Yeah. Other devil fruits that we see, you know, it does seem like early on, you know, Oda was trying to restrain himself with the devil fruits. He's like, okay, not everyone has a devil fruit, just some of them.
Well, the idea was that devil fruits are kind of mythological, almost, in the blues. In the East Blue especially. The East Blue is renowned as the weakest of all the blues. I believe the West Blue being the strongest. So they're as far away from the strongest side of the world as can possibly be.
Right, yeah.
So, in the beginning of the story, devil fruits are like, oh my goodness, this is a mythological power.
Yeah.
And then you get to the Grand Line and it's almost like, ha! A devil fruit? My goodness, how cute!
Yeah. And actually, you were saying about the different blues. Let's talk about that world design for a minute. So, the world of One Piece is mostly covered in water, except for like a strip of land going around the center, and then going the other way is this waterway, the Grand Line, which is bordered by strips of completely calm waters that are just filled with monsters, just filled with giant fuck-off monsters.
And there's no wind, only the Navy can get through these waters. Partly...
Yeah, because they've got powered boats, haven't they?
There's also one other thing, but you don't learn about that till later. But yeah, mainly because... Okay. Except for the Kuja pirates, because they have big bloody snakes to guard their boats, but yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the Grand Line itself. So the whole reason that Luffy and the others are on this quest, is to find the One Piece, some legendary treasure that was discovered and then hidden by Gold Roger or Goldie Roger. His name goes back and forth depending on who's speaking about him.
There's actually a reason for that as well.
Yeah, I've heard that there's something about this D going on.
Yeah.
I know there's Monkey D Luffy. I know there's Portcullis D Ace. Something about that D is important. I don't know what.
So the D is somehow related to the the Void Century, which is a period of 100 years. I think it's 900 years ago in the story, where all trace of it has been wiped out by the government. It's a literal crime to know about this century, which
interesting.
We do learn about in Alabasta, obviously, with the I can't remember what they're called. The stones.
Oh, the poneglyph?
Yeah, the poneglyphs. So the poneglyphs, they have... Robin is trying to find them because they have information on this void century or can point to where technology from it is buried.
Right, okay. That's interesting.
So yeah, the D is related to that in some way.
In some way, okay. Keeping a bit of mystery. Good. So yeah, they're on their way to find the One Piece, and the only way to get there is to sail the Grand Line, which generally goes one way. I mean, you presumably could go the other way, but you just go this way.
So yeah, I really like this actually, because the way that the world is set out is, in and of itself, you have the Grand Line intersecting the Red Line, and you have to go from one end of the Grand Line to the other end of the Grand Line go through it somehow, go through the red line, which is like this 10,000-mile high cliff. Like, how are you going to get a ship through there? But once you finally get to that other side, you've got to go all the way back again, and once you're on that end, then you can finally find the One Piece.
Right.
And I really love this, because the way that you have the world set up is the Grand Line intersects the Red Line, and that intersect is essentially an X marks the spot on the treasure ship that is the treasure map that is the entire planet.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. So I suppose what I mean is, like, so they enter the Grand Line through that part where the water goes whoosh.
Reverse Mountain.
Reverse Mountain, yeah. Is there any particular reason why they couldn't just climb over said mountain and sail the other way around the Grand Line?
No, and there's actually a character, well, there's two characters, actually, that have done that. One is, I'm not going to spoil either one, unless the words Spooky Island mean anything to you.
They don't at all.
Okay, so...
But I like where it's going.
So one of them is... They essentially managed to turn an entire island into a ship, and sail it through the Calm Belt. And the other essentially has a ship that can climb up the cliff.
Okay.
So those are the two characters that I know of personally that have managed to circumvent the Red Line by means other than a particular island that I'm not going to mention by name.
Okay, that's fair. All right. Just glad to know that is addressed at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as reading through this, I'm just like, it's cool these guys are taking the long way round, but, like, it's just over there. So,
Yeah.
Whatever. Neat. And, something else to mention about the Grand Line is that you can't navigate it by normal means. Normal maps, normal, navigation just won't work.
Yeah.
You've got to use a log pose.
Yeah, so the islands have their own magnetic fields, which cause each island to have a wildly different climate to each other, even if they're very close. And those magnetic fields mess with compasses. So, essentially, the second they get into the Grand Line, Nami's like, what on earth is this?
Yeah. and actually it is basically immediately then that they meet Vivi, is it not?
Inside a whale, yes.
Inside a whale, yeah.
So, when they meet Vivi, they're inside a whale called Laboon, who has blocked who blocked their exits to Reverse Mountain. So they're zooming down Reverse Mountain, and suddenly there's a massive, what appears to be a cliff in the way, but no, it's a big whale. And of course, Luffy, his first instinct is to smack it with the mast of his own ship. So the whale eats them, and inside they find these two characters, Miss Wednesday and Mr... I can't remember. Is it Mr. 8? Mr. 7, maybe?
I think it's Mr. 8.
So you've got this king-dressed guy and the person that we later find out, Miss Wednesday, Nefeltari Vivi. So, in the beginning, they are posing as essentially bandits. They're trying to cut up the whale for meat to feed their village. Village in air quotes. Of course, this cranky old man Crocus, who's drawn an entire skyline inside the whale, has other things to say about this, so hijinks ensue.
Yes, indeed. This whole Laboon stuff is stuff that I don't remember a whole lot of. I'm just trying to find where it was in all of this. I think it's like this one, probably. I can't tell, to be honest. Yeah, here we go. Here's all the Laboon stuff. What is happening? Oh yeah, the whale keeps smacking itself against the cliff.
Yeah. So its shipmates left it behind because it was a little babby. It would never survive the Grand Line, so they had to leave it behind.
Yes.
And they said, don't worry, we're going to find the One Piece, we're going to come back and get you. That was 50 years ago. So, not too much chance of that now, although it's not ruled out. They definitely could still be out there somewhere, and Laboon's story does actually come up later on in the manga.
I was going to say, I have heard that Laboon comes back in some way.
Yeah,
so
and
that would be cool.
It's my favourite backstory of any character in this entire... I mean, you'll cry.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah.
Speaking of backstories and people trying to find the Grand Line, Usopp's dad was on Shanks's team. Is that right?
On Shanks's ship, on the Red Hair Pirates.
Yeah.
So Yasop is his name. He's the sniper.
That's right.
He's the sniper for the Red Hair Pirates. He can hit anything, even if it's between the eyes of an ant.
Incredible.
So, Usopp, that's where he gets his love of the pirating life and why he tells all of his ridiculous tales to Kaya. His dad's a big shot pirate.
Yeah. And now he can be one too.
Indeed he can. He was on the Pirate King's ship, of course.
Yes.
As the captain.
So, speaking of that ship, the Going Merry, or the Merry Go, or... It's been translated a bunch of different ways.
Going merry is generally the more accepted term, I believe, in the Western audience.
I think these early ones call it the merry-go. I do know that at some point, quite possibly soon after this, it does get destroyed and replaced with a new ship.
Not very soon after this whatsoever, actually.
Okay, so that's way off.
So at the moment, where we are in the story as it is, as it exists at the moment, I believe Nefeltari Vivi's story ends, or at least her story with the Straw Hats ends, because like every single character in One Piece, she also comes back later.
Of course.
So that ends on chapter 216. And obviously, at the moment, we have 1,000 chapters plus out. So we're only a fifth of the way into the story.
Not 1,000 plus. It's nearing 1,000.
Ah, right, okay. So
the whole idea... Well, my goal is to catch up before chapter 1,000.
Ah, right. So, I'd say that... Actually, no, I'm not going to tell you quite when. We've got quite a ways to go yet.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. After we get introduced to Vivi briefly, then do we... we then get introduced to Baroque Works, who are this organisation that, Miss Wednesday and Mr. 8 are supposedly working for, although they're just doing it undercover.
Yeah, so they're supposedly bounty hunters.
Yes.
But we find out later they're a little bit more.
Yes. So Baroque Works overall are working for Sir Crocodile, who, is he number 1 or number 0, I forget?
He's Mr. 0.
Mr. 0.
Mr. 1 is Dazbones, the sword boy.
Right, yes. Yes, that's right. I remember him now. Their goal, or, Crocodile's goal, is to take over the kingdom of Alabasta, and become a big force in the world of pirates.
No, not quite actually. No? I nearly knocked something over there. So Crocodile's goal is he enlisted Baroque Works and Robin in the task of his superficial goal. The superficial goal of Baroque Works is they're a bounty hunting organisation. That's why they operate legally.
Right.
Underneath, with Crocodile at the head, what he's telling them their actual goal is to take over the country of Alabasta and install him as king, and they'll get positions of power in this new country. It's all going to be real cool.
Yes.
His real goal is he's enlisted the help of Miss All Sunday, or Robin, as we later come to know her, who is, as far as we know, I don't think personally. So there's two people who we know of in the story who can read the well, not quite read one of them, but two people who know what the poneglyphs say. One is Robin, and one I'm not going to spoil for you because it comes in later.
Okay.
So the poneglyph that Crocodile is searching for is as I said earlier, the poneglyphs tell you information about the Void Century. And one of the things in the Void Century that was particularly... It's part of why the government has shut down all information on it, is that there were 4 very, very powerful weapons. Incredibly powerful.
Ah, right, yeah. I remember them mentioning that. So
the weapon that Crocodile is looking for is called Pluton, and it's a battleship that could blow up an island in a single shot. It was vastly powerful. If even one of these weapons was to fall into the wrong hands, whoever controlled it could easily take over the world by themselves.
Right. Okay.
So that's why Crocodile was going for the poneglyph. That's why he didn't try to become king. He immediately, as soon as he got the opportunity, he went straight down into that vault for the poneglyph.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, so of course that is a little bit later than where we were, but yeah. Then we get little Chopper, little Chopper. His introduction.
He's a good boy.
Hello, little Chopper. He's such a good boy. He's the best boy. He's a reindeer. So it's been the idea has been introduced that some people have devil fruits that can turn them into animals. Yeah. Well, this guy is a reindeer who ate a devil fruit that turns him into a man.
Yeah, the Hito no Mi. The human fruit.
Person fruit.
And there's actually different... So we learn that in the chapters that we've read so far, we learn that there are actually different models of devil fruits. So, for example, Pell has the Tori no Mi, but he has the Tori no Mi model hawk. Model falcon.
Right, yeah.
So there are multiple bird-type fruits, but not all of them... There's, I believe, only 7 devil fruits with the power of flight in canon.
Okay.
And he has one of them, and they're considered legendary devil fruits, because obviously you can fly.
Right.
But
yeah.
Chopper's model of the Hito no Mi is just the Hito no Mi. So he has the base devil fruit. It gives him all the powers of a human. Which, if a human ate them, Oda joked that it would bring out their inner potential. It would essentially turn them into a Buddha-type figure.
Okay.
That ended up being a joke because there is another model of the Hito no Mi that does a similar thing.
Okay.
But, yeah, his just gives him the intelligence of a human. He can speak with humans, but he's still an animal, so he can speak with animals. He can understand them.
Yeah. And he can also turn into a buff reindeer boy.
He can, and an incredibly buff, big reindeer boy.
Yes.
If he eats too many balls.
Yes, so the rumble balls.
Which are one of the coolest powers in One Piece.
Okay, but what the hell are they?
So Chopper he has had a fantastic dada in Dr. Hero Luck, but he was a bit mental. He wasn't exactly a doctor. He turned someone into a frog at one point. It obviously wore off eventually, but at least the frogness cured them of whatever illness they had. He was still a doctor.
Exactly. Yes.
And then he got to train under the best doctor, Dr. Een. I say the best doctor because she'd kick my ass if I didn't. But, yeah, so with his combination of actual medicine and kind of mad science quackery, he's managed to come up with this theory, and acted on it, that he can alter the wavelength of his devil fruit. So, rather than just the usual 3 transformations that would be allowed by that type of devil fruit, I can't remember what it's called. There's Logia, Paramecia, and Zoan.
Zoan?
Yeah, so typical Zoans only give you 3 transformations. By using medicine and science, he's managed to unlock 7 at this point, which is very impressive. I love this idea that he's figured this out on his own, because there's other characters that have figured out similar things. But he's just this little reindeer boy, and he's managed to extend his power well beyond his means.
Yeah, and can I just say that fight where he, introduces the Rumble Balls, and he's like, leg boost, arm boost, blah, 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 and then brain boost.
Yeah.
And he just, zeroes in on this guy's weak point. He's like, that is how I take you out.
So this is another of the small differences between the anime and the manga. So in the manga, in quite a few of the translations, it's referred to as boost. In the anime, he refers to them as points. So he has jump point, brain point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, he has one of my favorite powers in that he's not managed to enhance it through his training as much as he has through his intelligence, which fits in with his devil fruit very well.
Definitely, yeah. And something else I love about Chopper and his whole backstory is Dr. Hirolook's essentially his farewell to Chopper.
Yes.
In that he knows he's gonna die. He's like, so I suppose we should back up a little bit. The island that they're on, Drum Island, has 20 doctors, and they are like gods. Everybody worships the doctors.
Literally gods, because there is actually, and this doesn't happen in the manga, in the anime. In the manga, at one point, Wapple's head gets cut off by Zoro, and they immediately sew it back on. And he's just fine. So they're very good doctors.
So Wapple, King Wapple of, the Wapple pirates, he has essentially kidnapped or, enlisted these doctors and taken them away from the island. So there's no more doctors on the island, apart from, that one.
Yeah.
And I guess she just doesn't want to train any more doctors.
Well, obviously, Wapple has ordered the death of any doctor that won't come serve him exclusively.
Ah, right, yeah.
So she and Hirolook are the final holdouts of this tyrannical law. They're the only ones who are willing and able to go out and heal the people at no cost to them. I mean, obviously, Ian is definitely not healing people at no cost to them, and you could argue that there's definitely a cost of being turned into a frog if you're going to get healed by Dr. Hirolook.
Yeah.
But they're providing a service nonetheless.
Yeah. But anyway, so at some point, Dr. Hirolook is confronting someone. I forget who exactly it is. Was it Wapple? Can't have been, right?
It was
his last stand.
Yes. So what happens is Wapol sends out an APB. He tells everyone in the kingdom, "Look, these Ishi 20, the 20 doctors, the only doctors left in the kingdom, are dying. They're all terribly ill. We need someone to heal them." And Dr. Ween is like, "God no, I'm not that stupid." Hirolook, though, he's got the heart of a real doctor. He's not the type of person to crash into a pub, heal someone's broken bone, and then charge them half of their possessions. So he goes up, he knows that he's been given this Amitake mushroom, or Amadake mushroom, I can't remember which it was.
Yes.
He knows he's gonna die, so he figures, look, I'm gonna die, either one of these is gonna kill me very soon. I might as well go and try and heal these doctors while I can.
Yes.
There's a chance that this country could be screwed. I'm one of the last doctors free. I have to try and help these people. So he goes up there, and he is confronted by the army, Wapple's army. Wapple, he's a big munchy bastard. He's laughing at him. Ha ha ha! How could you fall for this?
Yes.
Dalton, is he a bull? I can't remember. I think he's...
Yeah, the bull.
Yeah, Dalton is... he feels sorry. He realizes that finally he knows his king is corrupt. This is the last man in the kingdom willing to give a shot at actually healing the ills of the kingdom.
Yes.
So Hiruluk, he's relieved that there's nothing wrong with the issue 20. He blows himself up.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'm gonna go out with a literal bang.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's quite a way to go. But yeah, so you mentioned the mushroom before. So up until this point, he'd been suffering from an illness, and he said, Chopper, go find this mushroom, it'll cure me. You can be a real doctor.
No, he didn't.
No, didn't he?
No. So Chopper found out that Chopper eavesdropped on a meeting when Hiruluk threw him out. Hiruluk then went to Dr. Ween, because he knew he had to throw Chopper out. He didn't want Chopper to see him on his deathbed.
Yeah,
so
yeah, that's right.
Chopper follows him, hears that he's dying, and he's like, I've been training my whole life for this. I'm gonna be the doctor that saves Hiruluk.
Yes.
So he finds in a medical book a picture of a mushroom, and it's got a skull and crossbones, and to Chopper,
which
Hiruluk has taught him all his life, because what we find out is that Hiruluk used to be a thief, and he gave up his thieving career, his dastardly deeds, when he found out he was dying. And he went to a place, he saw these beautiful cherry trees, and they cured him of an illness. Like, the thing that was really eating him up inside, he was cured of by seeing these cherry trees, this beautiful sight.
Yes, that's right.
So, even though this has happened, he still sees the pirate flag as the symbol of hope and freedom, and he teaches this to Chopper. So Chopper sees this skull and crossbones, and he's like, wow, this is the symbol of hope right next to this mushroom. This must be the only miracle cure that can save Hiruluk. So he
goes through this perilous journey to find this mushroom.
He confronts his real parents, he gets beat up, he comes back beaten and bloody to Hiruluk with this mushroom, and he's like, eat it, you are saved. And Hiruluk's overcome with joy, so he eats the mushroom.
Yes.
And
it's like he knows he's probably going to die anyway, so he's like, thank you, Chopper. Yes, you've saved me, good boy.
And the touching thing about this is that, so Hiruluk talks about how he was saved from a deadly illness by the sight of these cherry trees, and that's why he's trying to save the kingdom by bringing the sight of cherry trees to them.
Yes.
So we find out at the end that he manages to complete his dreams. The massive, tall, stumpy mountains in the kingdom, he manages to turn the snow into blossoms to make it look like these stumps of blossoming cherry trees. And it's at that point that you realise that the illness that he was saved from by the cherry trees wasn't the thing that he was dying from, because if he was saved from it by the cherry trees, why was he still dying from it? The illness that he was saved from was the corruption inside him. He was a thief.
Yes.
He sees this beautiful sight, he renounces his terrible ways, and he wants to heal the country's corruption through the same means. And that's why Chopper's backstory is one of my favourites in the story.
Yes, it's so good. I was actually stuck on this book for a long time because I hadn't quite got to Chopper's backstory yet, but I was just in the middle of this one. And basically I just put the book down for a while and didn't come back to it. But yeah, eventually I did pick it back up, and I'm so glad I did, because Chopper's backstory definitely worth it.
It's beautiful. All of the Straw Hats crew, they all have fantastic backstories.
Yes, yeah. And so, after this then, it's basically straight into Alabasta.
Not quite. So after this we have Little Garden.
Was that after this? I thought
oh
that was
no,
before
sorry,
this.
they go to Drum Island to get the Kestia treated. After this is Alabasta.
I suppose we did just sort of skip over Little Garden. There's two giants and they're fighting forever. That's cool.
And Usopp is absolutely psyched by this.
Oh yeah, totally. everyone else, well, specifically Nami, I think, is like, hey, shouldn't we get them to stop fighting? And Usopp's like, no, this is their mission. This is their manly duty. Let them fight.
Yeah, so we should quickly go over that just very briefly, because there's another character that's important on Little Garden. Mr. 3.
Mr. 3.
With his accompanying
I love his
assistant, Miss Goldenweek.
That's right, yeah.
So Mr. 3 is a candle man. He's eaten the wax fruit. He can create wax as strong as iron from his body. And it's quite...
Yes, and his hair is a little candle wick with the 3 in it. That's so good.
So yeah, this is where we're introduced in the story, I believe... I can't remember if it's this or Whiskey Peak, where we're introduced to the concept of the numbered agents. Because before this... So, the organisation of Baroque Works has the millions and the billions, which are...
Yes.
Essentially, if you're a millions, you're a numbered agent, I think. And if you're a billions, you're one of the ridiculous number of smaller agents who are just not important enough.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. So, yeah. Okay, so I really like the numbering system that they use. So it's the men are numbered, 1 through however many there are, and then the women are named after days. Either days of the week or
holidays,
or holy days, or holidays. Yeah. But then you have Bon Cray or Bon Cray.
Yes.
Who is both?
Yes. So he's Mr. Tu Bon Cray.
Yes.
Because he's an Okama, and he is... Oh, I love him so much.
Yes.
So, how far are you... Have you seen his cover story?
If I have, I've forgotten what was in it.
Okay, so this is a small spoiler. Not too small, because you never see him die, obviously, but at the end of Alabasta, he gets captured. Saving the Straw Hats with this noble, selfless sacrifice.
Yes.
Proclaiming all the while his eternal friendship with the Straw Hats. He's a fantastic guy. Love him. He's my favourite in all of the story, and he comes back. He's a very important character.
Okay, yeah, I had a feeling he'd come back at some point.
We don't just see him, though. He's not just a character that recurs, in the background or has small story beats. He's very, very important. So keep an eye out for Mr. Bon Cray.
Indeed I shall. Okay.
Okay, so now we're finally at Alabasta.
Yes. Now we're finally at Alabasta, so I imagine this is the part you were most wanting to talk about.
Not particularly, no. I love all of One Piece.
Okay.
This entire story, I love it so much. I can talk about it for hours and hours.
Yeah. So, yes. Blip, blip, blip. So, Alabasta is a desert kingdom, desert island, where normally people live pretty well, but there's this huge drought going on. Specifically, we find out it's because of... What's it called?
Dance powder.
The dance powder, yeah.
So the idea being,
which
you can, like a rain dance, you can call down the rains to a place that has had none for a while, but it will, because you've taken the moisture from the air, there's not going to be any precipitation on the clouds later cycle, so wherever should have gotten that rain, you've taken it from them. So
yes, exactly. Yeah,
it's not magic.
No, it is definitely you are physically taking the rain from somewhere else. Yeah.
And for this reason, it's outlawed. It's very illegal.
Yes. But yeah, so in Alabasta though, it seems that most places aren't getting so much rain. But the King's Palace, that seems to be very well hydrated.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going on there.
So the capital city of Rainbase, it apparently has plenty. It's a miracle. It's the King's miracle, they call it.
Yes.
So everyone, they're like, well, he's this incredible king. Of course the land has blessed him with this rain. And then a shipment to the palace gets knocked over by accident. And what is inside it but dance powder?
Shock and horror. The king has been stealing our rain.
And the people pulling the cart are like, wow, oh no, this cart that we are pulling to the king's palace with the king's shipment of dance powder, it has been fallen over. Whatever shall we do?
Yes.
Which apparently is very convincing to everybody.
Yes, entirely.
So now civil war.
Of course. Yeah. So suddenly people start blaming the king. They're like, wow, that's kind of shit. Don't take our rain. Of course, we know, as you know, having read the rest of it, that it's not actually the king's fault. He's not doing this. He is being framed. And the king himself is actually a pretty chill dude. He's nice.
Yeah, King Cobra, which I love.
Yes.
He's a very, very good boy.
Yes, he is indeed. Loves his kingdom.
A bit overprotective of Vivi, we find out. And a bit of a perv.
Yeah, but what?
There's one thing in the anime that wasn't censored, which is the bit where the king is congratulating them in the bathrooms, and Sanji is trying to get a peek over into the girls' showers, and Usopp tries as well, and the king tries as well, and there's a bit, because Luffy in the story shows essentially no sexual interest in anyone whatsoever. And I really like Oda's explanation for this, because someone asks, the One Piece readers are very observant. Every page, every single detail is poured over for clues to the further story. So someone asks, why is Luffy climbing over to try and get a peek at Nami's breasts? And Oda says, well, Luffy's best friend is Usopp, and he kinda gets carried away when they're together. So, they're all peering over, and Nami turns around and she's like, alright, you get one, but you're gonna have to pay for it. It's 1,000,000 berries each. Happiness punch! And I love that. That's one of the few things that wasn't censored in the anime.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, Luffy showing no sex drive he's basically written as a child, so that makes sense.
Not a child, he's just got better things to do. He
Fair enough.
Like, he's got a lust for adventure. Why would you distract himself with breasts when he can get chests?
Yes. He is adventure sexual, definitely. Although, I do find it funny, I saw the other day, somebody asked in one of the SBS sections, hey, Oda, since Luffy can stretch, can his penis stretch too?
Yes.
And Oda says, yes, his penis can stretch.
It definitely can. Which is...
Glad to know we've got confirmation on that.
Yeah, although, this might be this is a little bit of a spoiler. You've seen how he blows himself up like a balloon. Yes, well, he can do that with other parts of his body, but he has to bite them first. So, in order to stretch it, I think he might not want to do that, to be honest.
Oh dear. Anyway, here's a character who we have been introduced to before, but he comes back a lot here, is Captain Smoker.
And Smokey Boy is he's a good character.
Yes. I love how he is constantly, in every scene, always smoking 2 cigars at once. Mm-hmm. Not just one, 2 of them. It's great.
And he doesn't, I don't get why, because he doesn't need to. His lungs are made of smoke. What possible advantage can he gain?
Maybe he just likes, he just wants to look cool.
Yeah, that's the only explanation I can think of.
Yeah. He has the smoke fruit. I don't know what it's called in Japanese. Which lets him turn his body into smoke. Cool.
Yeah. And he has a stick with, I think it's called kairoseki stone, sea stone? Sea prism stone.
Yes.
And that is a very cool weapon. It's our first introduction in the story to the concept of kairoseki.
Yeah, so this is something that early on it's established that people who have eaten the devil fruit cannot swim in the ocean. They will just sink like a stone. And also their devil fruit powers will no longer work if they're submerged in seawater. And then, then this guy comes along with this stick made of this seawater stone.
Not made of, tipped with. And that's very important because it's a very, very rare stone in this world.
Okay, fair enough. Yes.
It's very rare, very powerful, near unbreakable. And it's prized not just for its unbreakability, but it emits the same wavelength as the sea. So it can also take away Devil Fruit's users' powers.
Yes. Which is very interesting, and that I can see how that may be used a lot more later on to sort of guide characters around.
And it also makes sense that he's the first character we meet with this kind of weapon, because he's obviously a high-ranking officer within the Navy. He's actually, we find out at the end that he turns down promotion because of the whole Alabasta thing.
Yes.
So he could have been Vice Admiral, but he decides to stay as a captain. He's very powerful, so he's one of the few within the Marines that get a weapon with this kind of power.
Yeah. And he also has his assistant, Miss Tashigi, who she has a bit of backstory with a boy. Well, that boy.
Almost backstory. We don't know quite why yet, but she looks exactly like Kuina, who is Zoro's childhood rival, who he, in his dojo, we find out in his childhood he went round challenging all the dojos he could find, beating up everyone essentially to become the strongest. And then he gets to this one, and he beats up everyone and he challenges the dojo master. And the dojo master's like, hang on, wait a second, meet girl. And Kuina kicks the living shit out of him every single time they fight. And this is essentially what spurs on Zoro. This is his drive, because very early on, after a year of fighting, after 2,000 duels he loses, he eventually challenges her to a battle with real swords. And he loses this promptly, and she breaks down crying. And he's like, why are you crying? You're making a fool out of me. You've beaten me so many times. And she's like, look, I'm a girl. You're going to get much stronger as you grow up. I've already got breasts. Like, I'm nearing the peak of what I can still get stronger in technique, but there is going to be a handicap going forward. And then, near immediately after this session, she falls down the stairs and dies. They'd made a promise at this point, after that fight with the real swords, one of them is going to become the best swordsman in the world, and once that happens, they will have the ultimate duel to decide which of them is the strongest. So Zoro decides to carry on this torch in her name. Well, if one of us had to be the strongest, we made this pact. She's not around anymore, it has to be me. He has one of the most powerful lines in his backstory. He says, I'll become strong enough that my name will reach the heavens. And that's not just him being melodramatic. He's going to become so strong that Kuina, even in death, will know that he fulfilled their promise.
Yes. That is very, very cool. But yeah, relating that then to Tashigi, who looks exactly like her, as of so far, obviously I haven't read anything past the end of Alabasta. I take this as she is possibly related.
We haven't as yet found out what is the deal with this, so it could just be a quirk of the story that Oda's thrown in there to put us off, to throw us off the scent. But it's not known yet. So
right, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I definitely get the feeling that a lot of things that, even if they're introduced so early on, are very slow burn sort of issues.
Oh, very slow burn.
Yeah.
But
I mean, what? Oda said the story's only like 2/3 done or something?
Yeah, at this point, he said that before, but at this point he's saying that this story is only 2/3 done again.
Yeah. So, potentially 1,500 chapters? More?
Yeah.
Who knows?
But yeah, Zoro, he's the opposite of sexist. He's the Giga Chad. He doesn't care if you're a woman. He will fight you, but he just can't find it in himself to fight Tashigi. So this comes up time and time again. They meet over and over again, and it's a bit of a setback for him.
Yeah. I'll tell you who is sexist, though, and that is our good friend Sanji, who just, in the presence of a woman, just turns into a blob. He just cannot function.
Yes.
In the presence of a woman.
So there is that, but there's also... So Sanji, he's a little bit of a... Well, I say a little bit. He's a lot of a ladies' man in his mind.
Yes.
He likes to think that he's cool. He smokes because he thinks it makes him look mature. Is what's explained in the anime, in the manga. In the anime, I mean, in the 4Kids one, he has a lollipop.
He had a lollipop.
But in the anime, they chose not to put that in because it would have been seen as encouraging children to smoke. But yeah, in his mind, he's trying to be as cool as possible. And one of these things is he's learned from Zeph chivalry. So he doesn't think less of women, he just refuses to fight them. So this comes up quite a lot in the story. I don't know if I would call it sexism or an outdated code of honor. Because it's
probably the latter.
Because it's really not motivated by him thinking women are weaker. It's just that he has a personal code that he feels he would be less of a person, less of a man, if he were to break it.
Right, fair enough. And I do like how even that, this is something I do remember from One Piece Pirate Warriors 3, is that is carried over into the game, in that he does significantly less damage to women than men.
And there's obviously another quirk of his fighting style where he won't fight with his fists, because in his mind, his hands are for cooking. It would desanctify them if he was to lower himself to brawling with his bare fists.
Yeah. And actually, that brings me on to something in that every crew member that we've been introduced to so far, and presumably will be introduced to later, they all have a purpose. Everyone is there for a reason. Sanji's the cook, Nami's the navigator, Usopp is the sniper, Chopper's the doctor, obviously. Like, everyone has a very good reason for sticking with this crew, and the crew has a good reason for keeping them around. Which is good. It makes them feel...
It keeps a tight dynamic.
A lot more cohesive. Definitely. Yeah, no one is ever useless. Okay, so yeah, moving on to the rest of Alabasta then. Or, I suppose, the actual story of it, since we haven't really talked about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the crew arrives in Alabasta. Do they arrive with Vivi, or do they meet with Vivi there? I forget.
They arrive with Vivi.
Yes. Okay.
So, let me see if I can remember. So at this point, they arrive at Alabasta, and their first port of call is obviously to try and get to Koga, the leader of the resistance.
Yes.
Who we find out is Vivi's childhood friend. So essentially, he knows that the king is a good man, but he's sort of been taken in by this deception. But Vivi knows if she can just get to him, she can talk some sense into him. But first they have to get there.
Yes.
So
exactly.
They have to go on this massive trek through the desert. So I believe the first place that they reach is actually Koga's father.
Indeed, yes. Mr. Toru, was it?
I think so.
What was his name?
So he, in the story, Koga and Vivi were split up as children because his father was sent to establish a new town, a new oasis. So him and Koga, they went out, they dug up this oasis by hand, they created a thriving town. But since the drought...
Toto was his name. Toto.
Right. So this town has been hit by the drought very hard because it wasn't even...
Yes.
There was no oasis there to begin with. They had to dig to find this water. So the water has been taken away by these endless sandstorms.
Yes. And Toto's... He's the last one who's remained in this town. Everyone else has, either died or deserted. And he is sticking to his guns. He will keep digging that oasis hole until he finds water.
And he is quite disappointed in his son for losing faith in the king. Because, obviously, he knows their backstory as well as Koga does. He knows that the King Cobra is a very good man. He knows that he would never betray the kingdom like this. He knows there's got to be something going on. So he's sticking to his guns. He's gonna get this oasis going again. So they spend the night with him. He gives them food. He gives them water. And then finally he hits water. And the first drop of water that he finds, he gives to them so that they can continue on their journey.
Yes. And they guard that water, I mean, their lives kind of do depend on it, but their lives depend on it. I do like how Luffy, goes from this water chugging maniac.
We have missed something though, quite important.
Yes.
Before that, the town that they arrive in, so as soon as they hit shore, Luffy immediately wants food, obviously. So Smoker's there, and Smoker goes...
that's right, they go into the bar.
So there's a restaurant that Luffy's pelting towards. And in this restaurant are two very interesting figures. We have Smoker, who we've met before, and a man with a Nazi tattoo on his back for some reason in the first versions of the manga. Which gets changed later on because, obviously...
Yeah. Well, are you sure it was a Nazi thing? It wasn't like a manhwa or something?
It was obviously a manhwa, but it's a swastika.
Okay.
I mean...
Okay, yeah.
But yeah.
I think in this version it is still the manhwa.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly, but I seem to remember it being in there.
So it turns out that this man is the first... which is it? The first commander of the Whitebeard pirates, Ace. And Ace is Luffy's brother, we find out. So Luffy, in his haste to get into the restaurant, smashes straight through Ace and Smoker. Smoker notices Luffy. He's like, what in the ever-loving fuck is this monkey child doing here? I'm going to capture him. So he chases after him, and Ace is like, excuse me, that's my brother, eat fire. So this is one of the first big diversions from the manga story to the anime. In the manga, Luffy meets up with Ace. Ace saves him. They go to the boat, and Ace is like, okay, it's been really cool seeing you. Have this Vivra card, this card that it'll let you find me somehow. So Nami sews it into Luffy's hat so it can't get lost. And they say their goodbyes, and Ace is off to... because he's got a mission from his captain. He's gonna go find a man calling himself Blackbeard, who has killed one of his members of the crew. He's committed a cardinal sin in the world of pirates. There are very few rules for pirates, but one of them is that under no circumstances do you kill a crewmate. So Blackbeard is a very bad guy, and Ace is off to find him. So off he goes on his little self-powered boat, his little jet boat. But in the anime, Ace sticks around, and he actually goes with them on the trip through the desert, and they split when they get halfway to Rain Base, I think it is.
Wow, okay. So he sticks around for a while then.
I think he leaves them just before they get on the giant sand crab.
Wow, okay.
So, yeah, that's one of the first big diversions. But yeah, so...
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, interesting actually that you brought up Blackbeard there, and how he, killed a member of his crew. Turns out that's a thing that the real Blackbeard did in the real world.
So
it's a thing he's quite known for.
So Oda has said that his favourite pirate is Blackbeard. He had... The reason he puts down the reason why he loves pirates in the first place to a cartoon known in Japan as Viking Bike, which translates to Vicky the Viking.
Yes, Vicky the Viking, yeah.
But his favourite historical pirate is Blackbeard, Edward Teach. Edward Teach,
yeah.
So yeah, that's where Ace's buggered off to now, but it was very fun seeing him, and he's got a cool devil fruit. He's got one of the coolest.
Yeah.
It's the flame fruit, I believe, but I can't remember
in the English version.
But I can't remember the name for it in Japanese.
Maybe it's something like Tai-Tai?
No.
Maybe? Something like that? No? Okay.
The naming convention for the fruits, Oda he's had to get creative with them because the fruits always have 2 syllables. So, Hito no mi, Gomu Gomu no mi.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Right, whereas in the English version they seem to generally have 1 syllable repeated. Okay. Fair enough then. So after Ace, leaves them in the manga version at least, what happens then? Let's see.
They get on a sand crab who turns out to be a pretty cool guy who knows Lashes the camel. Who has become a good friend of Chopper, and he's a cool camel. He's a real ladies' man. Like, Sanji has nothing on Lashes the camel.
Indeed. I love the crab, by the way. The just this massive grin he's got plastered over his face at all times.
Yeah,
it's great.
So the crab is giving them a lift through the desert, and then boom, big old lake. And this kind of signifies, like, this is the first time we've really seen water, like a large body of water in Alabasta. So this is where we know this is where the action's going down. We're near Rain Base now. But he's a sand crab, so he doesn't do watery stuff. But he's a cool guy. He's gonna try his best, so he carries them nearly all the way over the lake. And then I can't remember if he throws them, or essentially they end up flying the rest of the way. And now we're finally in the King's City. Yes. Where the leader of the rebellion is, and also where Crocodile's casino, Rain Dinners, is, and where the King's Palace is. So this is where we meet Crocodile, I believe, at this point in the story.
So, yeah.
So they decide to take a little detour instead of... So in the desert, Luffy's had this moment with Vivi where he's like, no, fuck this. Why are we gonna go convince the leader of the rebellion to stop it? Like, you have no guarantee this is gonna work. I'm not moving another inch. And Vivi's ripping his shit. Like, she is beating the piss out of him. And she's like, why on earth? Everyone in the crew is like, you've already promised to do this. What the fuck are you doing? And he's like, I don't want to do this. You're going to have to accept that someone is going to get hurt. And she's like, I don't want anyone to get hurt. I'm the princess. I'm royalty. It's my duty to make sure nobody in this country gets hurt. And he's like, well, what about us? Like, we're willing to put our lives on the line. So this is the point where they decide, fuck this rebellion shit. It's going to take ages for us to get there, and we don't have any guarantee it's going to work once we do. Let's just go beat the shit out of Crocodile.
Yes.
So they're on their way now to rain dinners. And this is where it gets fun. Because this is where we meet Crocodile, and also, because Sanji's gone on a bit of a detour, this is where we meet, again, Mr. Prince. So on Little Garden, I can't remember what they're called. Crocodile has these two animals, an otter and a vulture, that are essentially his messengers, as well as kind of goofy assassins. So he sent them to Mr. 3 to find out why he hadn't killed the Straw Hats yet. And Sanji just so happens to be in the wax house that Mr. 3 has built for himself when they arrive. So he's on the phone with Crocodile, and Crocodile's like, "Hey, why haven't you done this?" And Sanji's like, "Hey, who the fuck is this?" And Crocodile's like, "You know who I am." "No, I really don't." "Wait, who is this?" "I'm Mr. Prince." And I really like this because it actually kind of comes up later on in the story.
Okay.
But at the moment, he's the prince on a white horse. He's coming to save the kingdom. He's gonna fulfill Vivi's dreams. This is very within character for him. So he beats the shit out of the animals that Crocodile sends to kill Mr. 3. And now at the casino, so Luffy, everyone goes in to try and kill Crocodile. Vivi has a go at him with her cool peacock whips, which I think is really, I like them. They're a very non-traditional weapon. I really like the idea.
Definitely.
So she has a go, Luffy has a go, but eventually they all get chucked in a cage full of banana gators.
Well, they get put in a cage, and below them is a pool full of banana
and the pool
gators.
is steadily rising. And the Crocodile drops the key in with the banana gators, and the banana gators, they can chew through solid steel, so good luck getting that key.
Yeah. In fact, I just found that the chapter literally just called Banana Gator.
That's one of the reasons I love Oda, is that there's no normal animals, really. I mean,
no.
you get, even if there is a normal animal like a camel, it lashes the camel. Like,
yeah. Yeah. It's a lot like how in Avatar: The Last Airbender, every animal is a combination of one or more animals. And there's a part in, I think, in Korra, where they point it out, and someone's like, "Oh, you know, that guy had a bear," and someone's like, "A bear what?" No, just a bear.
So yeah, this is the point where I kind of lose grip on the storyline, because I know the events, but I can't quite remember which order it's in, because I've not seen the show in a long time.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, a lot happens. So Vivi is the only one who hasn't been put in the cage. But of course, she doesn't particularly want to go down and retrieve the key from these banana gators, as you can imagine.
But then, who could come in but Mr. 3?
Yes.
Mr. 3's not happy to see them. But Crocodile dunked Mr. 3 in with the banana gators for not managing to kill the Straw Hats. But he's a wax man, and it's not actually seawater that he's in.
Right.
So he creates a candle shield, and he's actually alive inside the banana gator once Crocodile leaves them to die. So the banana gators come up, they're snap, 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 and then out pops Mr. 3, and he's got the key. And he's looking at the key. The Straw Hats are in the cage. Key, cage. Yeah, fuck that, I'm not letting you out. But I believe it's Sanji comes in and kicks the shit out of him and makes him create a wax key for it.
Yes.
So that's how the Straw Hats get out.
Yeah. Also, Sanji kicks the shit out of a gator, and it looks fucking dope. Like, yeah. Also, Sanji has these... for some reason, Sanji has these glasses for, like, this whole arc, and then he just gets rid of them out of nowhere.
Yeah, I love this duality that he's got between the personalities of Sanji and Mr. Prince.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of like the glasses. I wish he kept them for a bit longer, to be
They
honest.
are cool.
Yeah. But anyway. So Mr. 3, they get the key, they get our rain dinners. Neat. And then, right. Yeah, see, you really need these pages that just tell you where everyone is and where they're going.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people going back and forth around a lot of different places.
I've got the wiki pulled up now, so I can actually follow the story properly.
Okay, that's fine. There's probably a better way of doing it than what I'm doing, but, I've got these on hand, so I might as well.
So at this point, let's see.
So Luffy has a duel with Crocodile.
Yes. So Crocodile beats the living piss out of Luffy because how on earth do you fight sand in a desert?
Yeah. Yeah, Luffy's just trying to punch him over and over. He just keeps, slipping straight through all his sand particles.
Yeah. So, Luffy, essentially, he gets wrecked, and Crocodile dunks him in a whirlpool of sand, and leaves him to die. And then he gets saved by Miss All Sunday.
Yes.
And we're like, what?
What's her motivation?
So we don't really find out her motivation at this point.
No.
So it just kind of remains a mystery. But Pell's there, and Pell carries Luffy off to get some water, and essentially because Luffy's one of Crocodile's powers, so he has one that he calls sables, which is or sabers. It's essentially the Romanized version would be sabers, but it's sables, which is sand blades. But the other is that I think it's his left hand, can suck out all the moisture in whatever he touches to turn it into sand. And that's really cool, because when he grabs Luffy and he sucks out all the moisture, at first he grabs his hand, and he's got like this mummy hand, and he's like jumping up and down screaming, what the fuck is this? But he gets fully dried out, and he looks like a mummy. He's gotten saved. This is before the Banana Gator bit, so we've done this in reverse order here.
Right.
So it's this, and then the thing that we've just gone over. So then after that...
Right, yeah.
Mr. 4 in Alabasta and Miss Merry Christmas, who I hate. Miss Merry Christmas, I really don't like her. Because you've not seen the anime. She's gross enough in the manga. She's this ridiculous-looking mole woman with a big orange fro.
Yes.
But in the...
Oh, I didn't realise it was orange.
Well, red, really, but like...
Okay.
This big, gross mole fro. And Mr. 4 is this huge, lumbering, really slow baseball player.
Yes.
So, in the anime, and this kind of comes through in the Japanese versions of the comics, because... her sentences she shortens words and sentences, so she doesn't say full words. She only says, like, the first half of them. And the idea is that she's very impatient. She just wants to get things done as quick as possible. But in the anime, this comes through as she's got this really shrill, screechy voice, and she talks really fast and doesn't say whole words. So she creates contractions. So she's she's trying to call, like, if she was trying to call Mr. Four a big idiot, let's say, she'd say, "You're a big idiot!" Like, it's really, it's horrendous. It's gross. I hate her.
Oh dear. Yeah. Glad I didn't have to go through that with this.
But yeah, so they've kidnapped King Cobra. And Cray, we find out his devil fruit on the boat is that he can touch someone with his right hand, and then if he touches his face with his left hand, he can assume their form, not just their face, but everything down to their body shape, to their gender, to their... not to their voice, which is kind of... It doesn't come through in the manga, obviously, because you can't hear the voice, but it's kind of funny to see Sanji trying to fight Nami, trying to fight Cray as Nami, while he's like, "Hello! Like, I'm Nami, come get me, big boy!" It's quite funny. But they're trying to essentially finish off the deception. So Cray is alongside a fake group of soldiers, and he fake admits that they used dance powder to make it rain. And there's one boy who sees him change back into his normal form. And this boy is part of the wants to be part of the resistance. Yeah. So he runs straight off to Koga to tell him, like, no, this is a deception. You need to stop. But he doesn't get there in time. The soldiers are ordered to destroy the town. So Koza, the guy who leads the resistance, he confronts him, thinking that he's the king. But Mr. One and Miss Doublefinger... Mr. One shoots him, and Miss Doublefinger crashes a huge ship filled with weapons into Nanohana, which is the city that the resistance is using as a base. So now, essentially, the leader of the resistance has been attacked, not fatally, but attacked by who they assume is the king, and a massive load of weapons has just crashed into their main base. So that essentially seals the deal. Like, they're ready now. They are going to do this. Nothing can stop it. Yeah.
And it should be said that there were also Baroque Works plants in both sides of the conflicts, just sort of escalating things.
Yes. So, now the Straw Hats, we go back to them. They've managed to get out of rain dinners thanks to Sanji.
Yes.
And Chopper and the moving crab, they fuck off with the Straw Hats to get to the palace, where they assume that the main fight is going to go down, because the soldiers at this point, the king has not been ordering his soldiers. He's been specifically ordering his soldiers not to engage the rebels in any way, shape, or form. No punishment is to be given.
Yes.
You don't touch these people. They're just confused. They don't know what's going on. They're scared. So all of the soldiers are preparing for this big fight to defend the castle, to defend the king. Smoker actually catches them at this point, and he decides to let the Straw Hats go, which is interesting. It's an interesting turn for his character, because up until this point he's been like the Bloodhound. He's Javert. He's going to chase them down to the ends of the earth until he finally catches them. Crocodile tries to snatch Vivi, but Luffy saves her, and he gets dragged off the crab. Oh god, we've done this in the wrong order again.
Have we again? Yeah, I've been trying to follow along.
Sorry. Like I said, I know the events quite well. I just don't know the order of the events at the moment. So now Crocodile and Luffy have their big fight. And then Luffy is saved by Miss All Sunday. And then she gives Luffy to Pell, and Pell is essentially, he's gonna take Luffy to get healed up, to get refueled, to get more water, food, so that he can finally win the big fight. So the war begins. So this bit that we were on about, this bit that I was on about where the crab can't get through the lake, and he tries anyway, he goes as far as he could, but he just can't quite get there. But when they first get to the island, they meet a group of kung fu dugongs, who take on... their creed is to fight anyone who they possibly can, and if someone beats them, they immediately become their senpai. They are devoted to them. They are going to learn their fighting style, and Luffy beats them, and he is all for becoming Sensei Luffy. So at this point, there's a massive catfish that stops the crab managing to get all the way to the end of the lake. But the Kung Fu Dugongs, the strong boys, they come in, they save them, and they take them to the other side of the river. And here we meet up again with the best duck. And, of course, the best duck squad. The Spot-Build Duck Squad, also known in the anime as the Supersonic Duck Squad.
Yes, that's what they're called in this as well.
They're the fastest animals in Alabasta. So, Karu and his duck friends, they're going to take them to the castle. The rebel army at this point has started their attack.
Indeed they have.
They're rushing towards Alabasta. The city is evacuated. The soldiers are readying themselves for the final fight. And outside of the city, they're inside of the Royal Army, inside of the Rebel Army, there are plants from Baroque Works.
From Baroque Works,
and they're looking to catch Vivi before she can get to Koza. But the Straw Hats kind of anticipated this. They knew that someone was going to try and stop them. I mean, they've been stopped at every turn so far. They've got to come up with a plan. Their plan is to dress everyone up like Vivi and have each of them go on a different duck in a different direction.
Yes, to lead them off.
So they all zoom off, and each of the Baroque Works members, one goes after each of the ducks, along with their holiday companion. Meanwhile, it turns out Vivi was hiding behind a rock, so she and Karu have been waiting, but suddenly she gets trampled by the rebel army.
That's right, the rebel army on their way.
And she's trying to tell them to stop through all the madness, but she can't. There's too much noise, there's too much dust, there's just no way. And when they finally pass, she's safe finally, but there's Usopp.
Also,
why is Usopp here? Where is your duck? Why have... Okay, if you're Usopp, show me your armband. Show me...
Yes, he's like, it's me.
What he doesn't know is that there was a mark under the armband, and surprise, it's Mr. 2.
Of course.
So, Mr. 2 is now attacking Vivi with his... In the anime, it's called a ballet kempo. But in the manga, it's called Okama kempo.
Yes, or O Come My Way Kenpo, as they translated it here.
So, essentially, all of his attacks are dance moves, and I love it. He's got these huge swans on his back that he detaches and sticks on his feet for extra range.
Yes.
So Vivi's trying to get away, and her and Karu, they're running away, and oh no, big cliff. But Karu, he's a brave duck. He's a mighty duck, you might even say. He runs straight up that cliff, and he can't fly, bless him, but he flaps his wings, and he gets there.
Yes.
But Mr. 2, he's got these swan feet on, so he just walks up the mountain.
Yes.
Fortunately, Sanji's there to save the day, so him and Mr. 2 are now gonna have a big fight. As well as all the other Straw Hats, because now they've all been caught up to. So they reveal their disguises. Haha, it was never Vivi all along. So their disguise works, Mr. 2's doesn't. Everything's working out quite well so far.
Yes. Yeah.
So
also, something I should just quickly mention is whenever a chapter is named after a character, either they're gonna die or it's gonna look like they're gonna die.
Yeah. So at this point, each of the Straw Hats has their own enemy. So Chopper and Usopp are battling Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas, along with their dog/cannon lasso.
Yes.
Who apparently is a gun that ate the Inu Inu no Mi, model Dachshund.
How the hell does a gun eat a fruit?
Well, So, Kairoseki's powers were discovered by a very clever scientist who we will find out more about later on, but he's very clever, and one of the things that he found out is that you can feed, in air quotes, devil fruits to objects.
Okay.
So it sort of implies that devil fruits, the power, you don't get them from eating the fruit, because you can gain a devil fruit's power by taking the tiniest bite. You don't have to eat the whole fruit like Luffy did.
Okay.
So it kind of implies that there's like an...
Wait, hang on. Are you saying that Luffy did not take a bite of Gum Gum, and he actually ate the whole Gum Gum?
Well, he took a bite of Gum Gum. It was one bite. He ate the fruit in one bite. So I suppose you could say he took all of the bites of Gum Gum.
Yes. Okay.
So Usopp's taking a beating from this fucking baseball launching dog cannon.
Yes.
But Chopper turns up, and together they manage to... Well, they don't really defeat them as such. So Miss Merry Christmas, her power is she's a mole. She's eaten the mole fruit.
Yes.
So she can dig underground and pop up and hit you and then dig underground again. It's all very annoying.
Yeah.
So Usopp decides, hey, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop a bomb down there into your tunnels. Doesn't work. They eventually defeat them. So Mr. 4 is very slow. He's quite a stupid man. The only thing that he has going for him is that he can hit a baseball like nothing else. So he's got this like...
including exploding baseballs.
So he's got this massive, like, 2-ton bat that he whacks people with.
Yes.
Almost as powerful as Usopp's 10-ton hammer. But, no, the 10-ton hammer unfortunately doesn't work, so they defeat them by Miss Merry Christmas digs underground, grabs, I can't remember if it's Chopper or Usopp, but grabs one of them by the feet and starts tunneling straight towards a wall.
Right, yeah. I think it's Usopp.
Yeah. So they're going to essentially get smashed into the wall, and that's how he's gonna get defeated. But no, Mr. 4 ends up smacking Miss Merry Christmas in the head instead. I can't quite remember how that happens, but...
I'm trying to look for the thing now. Let's see. No, not that one. Anyway, yeah, it is a very cool end to the fight. However, it ends up happening.
Yeah. So then we get to Sanji's duel with Bon Cray, and it's quite bad. Like, Sanji is taking a beating because Mr. 2, Bon Cray, he's found out somehow that, well, first he tries turning into Zorro, he's like, well, you wouldn't hit your teammate, would you? And of course, Sanji is more than happy to beat the piss out of Zorro.
Yeah.
So, Mr. 2 cycles through all the Straw Hats, and then he gets to Nami, and Sanji's like, woo! So he goes to Luffy.
Yes.
Nah. Nami? Ooh! And he figures out, I've kind of got an advantage here. So, essentially, it's not going well for Sanji. He can't kick Bon Cray, even though he knows it's not actually Nami.
Yeah.
He's just... to be fair, he's a bit dumb.
Well, yeah. There's this great panel where Bon Cray is just like, oh, it's so hot in the desert. I feel like I should take off my clothes.
Yeah, and in the anime, I don't remember if he does it in the manga, but in the anime, when they meet on the boat and he's demonstrating his powers, he turns into Nami, and he's like, look, I can even replicate the body, and just bears all. For which he receives a duly earned slap, of course.
Yes. Of course. As he should.
But yeah, Sanji figures out how to defeat him. I can't remember how he does it. What was it?
Let's see. I think I found the part where he does it, but I can't see how. There's just a lot of panels of him kicking the shit out of him.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Oh, right, yeah, okay, here it is. He says to Bon Clay, hey, what's that on your left cheek? Mr. Clay touches his face with his hand and turns back into his base form.
Yeah, see, this is the sort of thing, like, Oda, he's got some really cool fights in his stuff, and he's a master of story and long-form storytelling. His characters are incredible, but he really loves his goofs. He's a very goofy guy, so there's...
And to be fair, this is followed immediately by like 10 pages of Sanji kicking the shit out of Bon Clay. So, you do get the fighto in there too.
Yeah. So, Sanji's won, Bon Cray is defeated, sad, I know, but thus is life.
And this is where, right at the end of the fight, Sanji, he offers his hand to Bon Clay. He's like, oh yeah, fight's over. Good fight.
Yeah. And Bon Cray, he's a real man.
Kicks him again.
Bon Cray is overwhelmed by the show of manliness. Because...
And this is where he resolves to be friends to the Straw Hats.
He already was friends with them when they met on the boat, because they saved his life.
Well, true.
This is what I quite like about Bon Cray. Even though he's fighting against them, one thing about him is that he is incredibly honor-driven. So
absolutely.
Even once he finds out why Crocodile is doing what he's doing, even once Crocodile kind of betrays him, he fights for him because this is what he has resolved himself to do.
Yes, absolutely.
And he has also resolved himself to be eternal friends with the Straw Hats by this point, before he knew who they were.
Yes, and he is a man of his word.
So he's sort of, even though he has to fight them, he doesn't want to. He considers them eternal friends.
Yes.
But now
absolutely.
we get to Nami fighting Miss Doublefinger. And this is an where we are introduced to Nami's new weapon.
Yeah, the weather rods, or whatever they're called.
No. So that might be a mistake in the translation that you have, or it might be that the translation you have is older. But
I'm trying to have a look for it
the
now.
weapon is called the Climax.
Right, okay.
So, on the boat, after Whiskey Peak, Nami realised, hey, I'm kind of weak. I have this great knowledge of the weather, and I'm an integral part of the crew because I'm the navigator and basically the only one with any common sense. But I can't really defend myself or help in a fight. So she goes to Usopp, because she sees that Usopp, he's a weakling, he's a coward, but he still manages to be useful in fights. And the reason he's useful in fights is that he's clever, and he creates quite ingenious weapons. So she asks him to create a weapon, and just before they got to Alabasta, he's like, hey, we're getting to this big bad, we're gonna fight him, look what I've made you. It's the Climax. So Nami is fighting Miss Doublefinger now, and it's one of her few solo fights in the first half of the series. And she doesn't really have any idea how to use the Climax. And she's up against Miss Doublefinger, who is a very formidable opponent because she is essentially a hedgehog. She ate the needle fruit, which lets her essentially turn any part of her body into spikes, and she can extend them out at very rapid paces. She can essentially slice you up a tree.
Yeah. And she does stab Nami in the shoulder.
Yeah, so Nami is desperately trying to work out how the Climax works.
Okay, climate baton, that's what they call it in this.
But unfortunately for her, Usopp is also kind of dumb. So half of the stuff that he's built into this thing are party tricks. So she's like, okay, go, Climax, and like water springs out of it. Like, haha, yay! What a good trick.
Yeah, there's like doves and party ribbons and stuff, or flowers.
The doves I quite like, because eventually she works out how to use the Climax, and the first one that she manages to get to work to her advantage, she realises, hey, this is she turns to the back of the page, where, like, on the front, Usopp's put all the party tricks, and on the back he's put, also, here's the weapons. So the doves, at first she assumed were a party trick, but no, she realises, hey, I can fire these at them, and they work essentially like a bolus, which is pirates and ships in general used to have this weapon that they'd fire out of cannons, which is essentially two small cannonballs with a chain between them. And what this would do is it would essentially, if you could hit the mast or some part of the ship that was like sticking out, it would wrap around and snap, like it would wrap so tightly it would. It's devastating. So she fires this at Miss Doublefinger, and it ties her up long enough that she can get away to read the rest of the thing and pull off her actual attack, which is she has 3 kinds of weather balls that she can produce with the Climax. She has the cool ball, the heat ball, and the, I can't remember if it's called the electric ball or the spark ball, something like that. But with her infinite knowledge of the weather, she can use these to create localized weather phenomena. So, first, she smacks her with a massive whirlwind. And she's like, hooray, I won my first fight, but Miss Doublethink, I mean, you weren't going to beat someone of that caliber with one attack. So, she decides to pull out the strongest attack that the climb attack can offer, and zaps her to Kingdom Come with a massive lightning bolt. And
yeah, although just before she does that, there is this great fake out that I love. This part where it looks like Nami's just been stabbed 5 times, but what she did was she used the cool ball to create atmospheric disturbances that essentially made it look like she was 2 feet to the left.
So she can create mirages, which is very cool, and she uses these to her advantage a lot over the course of the story.
Okay.
Essentially, her fighting style is a lot like Usopp's, where she's not very strong, although later on she becomes ridiculously powerful, in a sense. But she's not very strong. All her strength in the beginning comes from her ingenuity, her ability to think quickly and analyse a situation and manipulate it to her advantage. So now we get to the big one. Zoro versus Mr. One Daz Bones. And this is fucking cool. And it has one of the cool... Zoro gets a lot of ridiculously cool moments in One Piece. Like, he's a fan favourite for a reason. But in this one, Zoro is facing a man who is essentially... His entire body is a sword. He can create blades wherever he wants. To the point where... So with Devil Fruits, one of the cool things is that each Devil Fruit, it has its base power. Like, Luffy has the Gum Fruit, he's rubbery. Ace has the Flame Fruit, he's made of fire. But if you're clever, you can use these to your advantage in ways that wouldn't necessarily have been obvious. So, for example, Luffy, on the face of it, the idea of a person who's made of rubber, that doesn't sound powerful at all. It sounds like you've got to be a floppy nonsense character. Daz Bones, obviously, he's got a really cool Devil Fruit in that he's essentially made of steel. He can create a blade anywhere on his body. But one of the other things that he can do is he doesn't just have to make swords. He can make these blades rotate, so he essentially has chainsaws on his hands. Or drills, or... he... Basically any bladed weapon you can think of that's melee, not like a throwing star. It can't separate from his body. So Zoro is really struggling with this. Because how do you cut steel?
And then he does resolve to be the swordsman who can cut through steel.
So he thinks back onto his childhood, because he's essentially having a near-death experience. Daz Bones has really sliced him up. He's bleeding out on the floor. He's about to have a building fall on him. So he's thinking back to his childhood, and he remembers something that his sensei taught him, his dojo master. His dojo master taught him that a swordsman can cut anything and nothing. And as a child, this didn't really make sense to Zoro, because why would you ever want to cut nothing as a swordsman? Like, that's not a display of power. And his whole thing has always been, I want to become stronger, stronger, stronger. But in this moment, he realizes, well, should I really be cutting things that I don't want to cut? And this is where it kind of clicks for him, that he should have such control over his swords that not only can he cut anything, he can, if he chooses to, not cut things, no matter how much force he puts behind a slash. Even a piece of paper, like his sensei showed him. His sensei slashes a piece of paper, and there's not a scratch on it. And at this point, the building is about to fall on his head, and he dodges it. And he doesn't really know how he did it, but from what he can tell, he can just sort of hear things better, in a sense, in that it's like the objects around him are telling them what their position is, what they're going to do. So he can sense the rocks falling, he can sense his swords underneath the rocks, and this is the point where he has essentially entered bullet time. Like, like, people talk of when you're in a fight, there's points where things feel like they slow down to the point where you can see and feel everything and it's all in slow motion. And this is where he finds the focus to finally be able to cut steel. And Daz Bones has a really cool line at the end of this. He says, "What's next? Will you cut diamond?" And Zoro's like, "Hell yeah, I'm gonna cut diamond. I mean, what else am I gonna do?" But Zoro thanks him for being the obstacle that he needed to go on to the next level. So now they've all faced their opponents. Essentially, the only one left is Crocodile.
Yes, that's right.
So, Vivi's finally gotten to the palace. And she's like, okay, I can't stop Koza, he can't hear me. I can't stop the royal army because what are they going to do? Just not defend themselves. She orders the army to blow up the palace to get everyone's attention. And, like, we've had this feeling all along that Vivi's going to become one of the Straw Hats. Like, she's already part of the crew. So we know
that's what has been building.
So we know that there's a lot of good inside her. She really cares, because that's the main part. That's the main thing that ties the Straw Hats together, is that they care deeply about each other and the people around them. And Vivi, she's spent all her life at this palace. It's the only home she knows. All of her childhood memories are here. But she's willing to give all of her wealth, all of her power, everything away to stop Crocodile from destroying her country. So the army, the soldiers are like, well, I mean, we really don't want to, because it's the castle, it's the symbol of our country, but you're the princess. Like, if there's no princess, there's no need for a castle. So they do it. They prepare to blow up the castle. They're about to pull the trigger, and then Crocodile arrives. The army gets stopped by Miss All Sunday. They try to get in to the doors, but Miss All Sunday shows off her devil fruit power here, which she can sprout.
Duplication?
Not quite. So she has the Hana Hana no Mi, the flower fruit. So she can make her own body parts blossom from any surface that she can see. It has to be within her sight. And she essentially keeps the soldiers away from the doors by creating a massive amount of hands to, like, slap them away. Crocodile is like... Koza arrives now.
Yes, that's right, he does.
And he's like, hang on, where's the king? And this is where Koza finally finds out what Crocodile's doing. Crocodile gets his big evil villain speech here.
He does.
So he reveals his plan. He's gonna blow up everything. The entire palace, the entire plaza, damn near the entire city. Essentially, everyone who is fighting in that city is going to die. And that's not all. It's not his plan to become the king. It's his plan to find the ancient weapon Pluton, which through years and years of searching, he's found out was in Alabasta. And he believes that the royal family have this secret of where Pluton is buried, because who else would?
Right.
Koza wants to warn everyone, but Vivi's like, are you kidding? There's a massive bomb and you've got a fucking army in the middle of a crowded city. Everyone's gonna go mental. Nobody's gonna make it out in time. So, the only real option that they have is to find the bomb and defuse it.
Yes.
So, instead of trying to get the rebel army to back down, Vivi orders the royal army to raise the white flag.
Yes, that's right.
With Koza there to prove that, like, hey, it's not just a ruse. I'm here. I'm vouching for this. They're surrendering. We don't need to fight. And then a fucking snake-ass bastard, a Baroque Works member, a Billion, has infiltrated the royal army, and he shoots Koza in front of everyone. And the rebels go fucking mental. The royal army don't quite know what's going on, like, why did that guy shoot him? So they have no real choice but to defend themselves now. So the battle has begun for real.
Definitely.
Vivi is screaming her head off. Like, the anime is absolutely heartbreaking at this point, because her voice actor does a fantastic job. And one of Oda's greatest artistic traits is that often, as we mentioned earlier, where he pushes characteristics and body types to the absolute limit.
Yes.
One other thing that he pushes to the limit is facial expressions.
Yes,
and Vivi's
absolutely.
facial expression, combined with her voice in the anime, is heart-wrenching as she's screaming. Like, her throat is raw, trying as hard as she can to be heard over all of this. And Crocodile's like, there's nothing you can do, they can't hear you, it's a battle. Do you expect one girl's voice to be heard in a battle? And then he throws her off the fucking wall!
Yeah.
But Luffy is flying in with Pell, just in time.
Thank God
and
for
Pell
that.
is cool. He's the guardian deity of Alabasta, which I find cool because obviously Alabasta is strongly modelled after Egypt, and Pell is a hawk. Egypt hawks. They've got kind of a history.
Yeah, there's a thing going on there.
But Vivi and the Straw Hats, they meet at the bottom of the wall, and they go off to find the bomb, while Luffy goes off to fight the big bad. So Luffy, the rest of the soldiers couldn't get into the castle because of Miss All Sunday's hands, but obviously Luffy's got a big stretchy boy, so he boings up, and Crocodile sends Miss All Sunday and Cobra off to find the Poneglyph, which is basically, like I said earlier, it revealed it's got an ancient language on it that very few people can read. So it turns out, yes, Cobra does actually know where this Poneglyph is hidden. So Luffy comes in.
It's in the Royal Mausoleum, if I remember right.
So Luffy comes in, and in his last fight, he noticed something. When he was bleeding, he managed to actually punch Crocodile. How?
Yes.
How did I punch sand? And he's like, oh, I've got blood on my hand. And he's made of sand.
Mm-hmm.
And he's made of sand because of a devil fruit. It's gotta be water. So he comes in with a massive barrel of water on his back that he got from the sand guy, the Oasis guy.
Yes.
Because he finally managed to get some water out of the Oasis again.
Indeed he did, yeah.
So Luffy is... he tries to punch Crocodile. He manages quite a few hits, but Crocodile can still dry him up.
Yeah.
So Luffy's solution to this
is water
Luffy. One of many forms that Luffy takes. Oh, I love Luffy's obsession with transformations, because they're never normal.
Yes.
They're never like actual transformations, because he can't transform. But no, this is water Luffy. He's gonna. So he drinks the entire barrel. And
oh lord,
he coming. Crocodile's like, oh my god, this guy's an idiot. But
Yeah.
Luffy, like I mentioned earlier, he's actually quite intelligent when it comes to fighting, but only fighting. So he spits out water like bubbles, and manages to soak Crocodile, and essentially Crocodile can now be hit, and he smacks him with one of his most powerful moves, the Gum Gum Bazooka.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Actually, speaking of soaking Crocodile, getting him wet, and that shuts down his power. So, I guess this isn't necessarily strictly related to the shutting down of devil fruit power that seawater does. This is more just water makes sand stick together.
That's exactly it. So, it's not seawater. And Oda has actually gone into the limitations of devil fruit users when it comes to water. So, it'd be a bit silly for devil fruit users to be useless in the rain, for example.
Of course.
And people have come to him with questions like, well, aren't they all going to be fucking stenchy? Like, how do they take a shower? How do they take a bath? I mean, pirates, you kind of expect a little bit of stink, but not that much. Not showering in 18 years level of stench. So the way Oda explains it is a devil fruit user has to be submerged up to their waist before they start to really get floppy. Like if they're up to their ankles, they're kind of. It's very mild, the effect. The higher up it goes, the more of their power is taken away from them until they're fully submerged, and then they just can't move.
Right. And is it any salt water that can do this, or just
any
seawater?
water? Strangely enough.
So any water. Right.
Obviously, at the beginning of the story, you think it's seawater because, I mean...
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
But no, it is actually any water. So, at this point, Luffy has soaked Crocodile, and you...
Okay, hold on. So, sorry, just back on that point real quick. So, when Luffy has gobbled up all this water and he's just full of the stuff, does that not count as shutting down his devil fruit power?
He's consumed it.
Okay,
he's not submerged.
It's got to be like... Right. Okay.
So, Luffy's soaked Crocodile, and you might think, well, can't he just dry himself out? But obviously, his power has been shut down, including the power to soak him, to unsoak himself.
To dry out.
And he's in the desert, so he's going to dry out pretty quickly anyway, so he doesn't really need to, per se. Because he's quite strong. He could, like... In the grand scheme of things, Crocodile is actually a very strong character, even without his devil fruit.
Yeah. He can hold his own for a while.
So, the Missile Sunday, so, to stop King Cobra from escaping from where they took him to, when they kidnapped him, they put nails in him. Which doesn't appear, I believe, in the anime. But at this point, Miss All Sunday takes the nails out of King Cobra and cuffs him with her powers. So essentially, she's got one arm on his right wrist, one arm on his left wrist, and they're kind of interlocking, like one is grabbing the other. And they're off to find the poneglyph with the location of Pluton on it.
The poneglyph, yeah.
Yeah. Crocodile is recovering. He manages to get up, and he reveals that he can't just suck the water out of you. He can suck the water out of everything, which is kind of the basis of his power. So it makes sense when you think about it. Like, it should have been obvious from the beginning, because if you are made of sand, once that sand, like, if someone can trap a part of that sand, or essentially your power is very limited, because you can't really create, like, sandstorms or anything, you know? It's just the amount of sand that makes up your body. So he can turn everything to sand by drying it out, which he does. He dries out the entire royal gardens. He actually cracks it, he's turning all the rock all the way down to bedrock into sand that he can use as his own. So at this point, he is ridiculously powerful. Like, I don't understand why he ever became a pirate in the first place, or why he even needed Pluton, when essentially he is in the one country on Earth where he's unstoppable.
Yeah. I suppose.
So Luffy is trying to avoid this. So he's, like, hanging on to the walls, and Crocodile grabs him by the neck from behind. Luffy gets dehydrated again. All the water gets...
turns into a floppy noodle mummy.
Yep. Fortunately for him, he tried to soak Crocodile before you could dehydrate him again by firing water at him like he did before, but it missed. Fortunately, it went straight up and falls straight back down on him and rehydrates him. And Luffy at this point is pissed. So he's running straight off to Crocodile, who is now following Missile Sunday down into the mausoleum.
Into the mausoleum,
So Missile Sunday gets confronted by the Marines, Tashigi specifically. Tashigi does not stand a chance. I'm sorry, Tashigi. You're just not strong enough. So, yeah. She gets... Tashigi finds out later the Missile Sunday is called Nico Robin, who has a bounty of 79 million on her, which was put on her as a child, around 10 years old, I think it was, because she was believed to have been responsible for the sinking of 6 warships.
Here it is, when she was 8 years old.
So, Nico has been powerful for a long time. And we'll get into why later on. Quite later on, I should say.
Okay.
So, essentially, Miss All Sunday, Nico Robin, we can now call her, is not happy at the mention of her previous life. She's got a bit of a complex over it, because of things, again, we'll find out later, but she kicks the shit out of Tashigi. Crocodile comes, takes the piss out of her and the Marines, and Tashigi is just left crying. So, Vivi, Pell, the Straw Hats, they're all fighting their way through the Gang of Billions, and through the Royal Army, and through the rebels, and they're trying to find the bomb. And right at the last minute, Vivi has this bright idea. Hey, when I was a kid, we used to hide in the clock. That'd be a perfect place to put a bomb. So they go to the clock. So they all arrive at the clock, but they're at different levels of it. And you can only get to the top through a staircase at the bottom. Pell can't fly them up there because he gets shot down by Miss Father's Day, which is an interesting name, and Mr. Seven.
Yeah.
So Miss Father's Day and Mr. Seven are essentially the snipers of the outfit, and they're the ones who were tasked with firing the cannon into the town square. What they weren't told was that literally everything is going to blow up, including them. So...
Yeah.
yeah, they kind of got taken for a ride here, but they did deserve the beatdown.
Oh god, yeah, I forgot what these two looked like.
Yeah, they're kind of freaks.
What the hell is Miss Father's Day's outfit? It's a frog.
But yeah, Vivi... I love the plan. I don't know if it's the same in the manga, but in the anime, all of them are at different levels of the clock. And the plan is, okay, so what we're going to do, Zoro is going to hold Vivi. Chopper is going to throw them both up. Zoro is going to then Sanji is then going to kick Zoro up. Then Zoro is going to fire Vivi all the way to the top of the tower with his swords, which is ridiculous.
Yes.
Again, Oda loves his goofiness, but I love it too, so I'm not going to complain whatsoever. Yeah. She gets to the top, she's like trying to fight them with her whips, and then she just manages to stop the cannon. But it's a time bomb. So...
yeah.
no point there. It's gonna go off anyway. Just as it's about to go off, Pell shows up. And as the guardian deity of Alabasta, he carries the bomb, he says his goodbyes to Vivi, and he flies as high as he can into the sky, and he blows the fuck up, saving everyone.
Yeah. Jeez.
Now, I loved that moment when I watched it, and when I read it, and then they ruined it. And we can get into that later. Okay. So, the bomb's explosion, everyone's like, what the fuck was that? Screw it, let's fight anyway. Vivi is screaming again, again, it's heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
But, can't get through to them. And then, this is where we get to Miss All Sunday, Nico Robin, and Cobra getting into the Grave of the Kings and finding the poneglyph. And the poneglyphs are a really interesting story mechanic. They can't be destroyed. They're actually made out of sea stone.
Okay.
So, sea prism stone.
Oh, okay.
Right. And nobody knows really how they were carved anymore, except for one particular clan possibly, but that doesn't come into the story until much, much later. So they're a big mystery, but essentially the idea was somebody during the time of the Void Century wanted this knowledge to carry on forever. They wanted there to be no way to destroy this. So they made it out of this invincible stone. So Crocodile's like, okay, we're at the stone. Robin, you need to read it. And this is where we find out that actually the reason that Robin is with Cobra in the first place is that she is essentially the only person in the world who can read it. She's the only one left who knows that language enough to decipher the stones. So she reads the stone. She reads the stone and tells him, okay, so what it says is, in this century there was this king, in the next century there was this king, in the next century he had a son. Like, Crocodile's real pissed because he knows for a fact that they're, like, even if it's not on this stone, he has not come this far not to get the information he wants. And this is where Robin tries to assassinate him. Which doesn't exactly come out of the blue, but it's kind of strange in that why would she be working with him in the first place if she was not going to tell him where what the stone said, and she was just going to try and kill him anyway?
Yeah, that was definitely it's a slightly confusing moment.
Yeah, so I can explain that for you if you haven't read it already. Because it's not really
I don't think I have. Okay.
It's not really a spoiler. So, Robin joined Baroque. You'll get to this literally within the next 10 chapters, so it's really not a spoiler.
Okay.
So, Robin essentially... She joined Crocodile in the first place because she wants to find the poneglyphs for herself, but not to find the weapons or anything. She just wants to know what they say. She's the last person that can read them.
Right.
She just wants to know what they say. She's the only person in the world who can do this now. She has to do it. It's her mission. She joined up with Cobra because when that bounty was put on her head as a kid, she couldn't really survive on her own. Even with her devil fruit, there was no way for a child to live in this crazy world, so she had to essentially team up with whoever she could to get by. So she goes from one person to the next, trying to find someone who won't betray her or use her, and finally she gets to Crocodile, who seems like, even though he's like a dick, he at least feeds her, and he knows where one of the poneglyphs is, so she decides to use him as he's using her.
Right, yeah.
So, Nico tries to attack Crocodile, fails. Cobra decides, okay, well, this is kind of it, he can probably, with enough time, torture her into telling him what this stone says. Because it turns out that Cobra, he actually knows that what Crocodile is looking for, the information he wants, definitely is on this stone. So, he decides to blow up the mausoleum. Well, not blow up. It turns out that when it was built, there was a failsafe essentially put in so that if anyone ever found it, they could take out one column and the whole thing would collapse, burying the secrets forever.
Right.
Which kind of doesn't make sense when you've got a man who can turn everything to sand and then control that sand, but okay.
Well,
So, on his way out, because Crocodile points out, hey, I'm made of sand, that was a dumb move. Cobra's trying to get out. Robin doesn't want to. But Luffy arrives, soaked in blood, and because he's soaked in blood, he finally gets the one last punch that was needed. He sends Crocodile launching through the fucking roof. And that is one of the most every single battle in all of One Piece has one really satisfying moment, and that is it for this one. Is Crocodile getting turned into a human firework. So, unfortunately, at this point, just as Luffy was managing to defeat him, Crocodile reveals that the hook in his hand, he scratches Luffy, and it turns out the hook has poison in it. And Luffy is going to die. So Luffy, he decides he's going to use the last of his strength, he's going to carry Robin and Cobra, because they can't... Cobra doesn't want to... Cobra can't get out, he's too injured. And Robin doesn't want to. She's begging him to let her stay there and die. Because it's... no, I won't go into that, even though you will find out within the next few chapters.
Okay. Alright. Fair enough.
So, Robin is fighting Luffy to try and stay and die, and Luffy's like, no, fuck you, I do what I want, you're coming with me. If you want to die, do it on top. Like, I can save you here and now, it's not my business what you do when I'm not near you. So he carries them out. Here is where Crocodile reveals the poisoned hook. So Crocodile slashes him with the hook. He's poisoned. Mm-hmm. So he fucking launches Crocodile, breaks the hook. But for some reason, Crocodile has a hidden knife in the hook. Like, not only does he have a hook hand for if his power doesn't work, he's got a poisoned hook hand. But not only does he have a poisoned hook hand, he has a poisoned hook hand knife.
There's a knife. Yes.
This man is uber prepared. But Luffy, he manages to dodge the attack, he counters, everything's getting wrecked now. The mausoleum is falling to pieces.
Yeah.
Crocodile launches straight through solid bedrock into the air. He knocks over buildings, like just slam, 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 and then lands in the center of the capital, right in the middle of the fight. Cobra is like, hey, thank you, let's go. Nico Robin saves Luffy with the antidote to the poison. It turns out she's the only person that Crocodile is entrusted with this antidote. Probably because Crocodile knows she couldn't defeat him. And, like, why would he have the antidote on him? It's better to entrust it to someone else.
Exactly. Yeah.
But Luffy carries them out. On the surface, Vivi's still trying to get them to listen. And then, as Crocodile lands slap bang in the middle of the fighting, a drop of rain falls.
Finally starts raining, yes.
And everyone finally looks up, and Vivi, they've stopped fighting, and finally she can actually talk to them.
Yes.
And this is where it finally ends. The chapter is now coming to a close. There's a bit of post-amble, but it's more of a farewell, because now we have a difficult decision for Vivi. She's a princess, she has royal duties, but she really likes the Straw Hats, and she's had a lot of fun with them.
Yes.
So they're in the palace now, resting up, trying to get ready to depart for their journey. But the government is on Cobra's ass, like, we know you got pirates in there, mate. So they've got kind of a time limit on how long they have to do this.
They have to get out of there fairly soon.
So Vivi has a sort of coming-of-age ceremony now that is tradition within the family. She has to give an address to the country.
Yes.
So her and Igaram, who we found out that... So back in Whiskey Peak, his boat was blown up. And that was kind of an emotional moment because he died trying to save Vivi. He dressed as Vivi on a boat. I love he has such a capacity for cross-dressing. Like, he will do it at any chance he gets.
He does.
And he's got these fucking machine guns in his massive judge wig. Like, he's such a weird guy. I love him. So we thought he was dead, but no, turns out Igaram's alive. And he shows up with the kid that got beaten up when he found out that obviously he was going to tell Koza that this whole war was a sham. So Cobra, essentially, he's like, yeah, everything's done. Let's fucking deal with this now. We're gonna rebuild the country. The Marines, led by Tashigi at the moment, we don't know where Smoker is right now.
No.
So Tashigi actually lets the Straw Hats go and arrests Crocodile. Probably as a sort of acknowledgement of the fact that they did what she couldn't in stopping him. But yeah, Crocodile's gone now. He's off. He's been put in sea stone handcuffs, and he's lost his warlord status, his Shichibukai status.
Yes.
Luffy awakened.
Yeah, that's right. He was one of the 7 warlords of the sea.
So Luffy wakes up after 3 days and screaming for food.
Yeah.
And they get a call from Cray. And he's like, hey bitch, I got your ship. Come get it. And they're like, oh god, him again. So he tells them where to find him. He's like, hey, I've saved your ship from the Marines and I'm protecting it for you. But they don't really believe him. They're like, this is off. Something's dodgy here. So they go off, and they tell Vivi, look, we've got to go get our boats. The Marines are gonna find it. You've got to make your decision by midday tomorrow, whether you're gonna come with us or not. And if you don't want to, if you're not coming with us, that's fine, we understand you're a princess. But if you do, we're gonna have some great adventures. So, they leave, they go to their ship, and they're like, this fishy motherfucker, this swan bastard has something up his sleeve, but no, he's a good boy. Cray, he has genuinely been protecting the ship for them. He feels real bad about what he's had to do, because of his allegiances. But now that Crocodile's gone, he has no more allegiance to follow, so he can finally be actual friends with them. And then in the middle of their happy reunion, Luffy and Cray are dancing in circles and having a great old time. And then Marine Captain Hina, the Black Cage,
Hina,
arrives. And she's got a pretty cool devil power too. So the Straw Hats are leaving to go to the meeting point where they told Vivi that they'd take their final answer. So the answer was going to be either she'd come and they'd pick her up, or she wouldn't, and they'd know, and they'd leave. But the pressure's on because now Hina's here, and she's got a really cool devil fruit power in that she's called the Black Cage because her entire body is a cage. She's eaten the cage fruit. So one of her abilities is she can stretch her arms out to form a massive iron cage that can trap ships, which is awesome.
Okay.
She can also create cuffs, like handcuffs, out of her hands. And she's actually in the anime. There's a bit afterwards where the Straw Hats have escaped finally, and Smoker is talking to Hina and another lady, an old lady from the. I can't remember. I think she's a vice admiral, but I can't remember her name. But she has a really interesting devil fruit power in that she has the wash fruit, which she can literally turn you into a towel, squeeze out all of your energy, and leave you on a washing line to dry. But not just your energy, she can squeeze the evil out of you. Yeah.
Oh.
So she
her
and Hina work together. Hina captures pirates, she squeezes the evil out of them, and then they're like, yeah, please capture us. Thank you. Please take us to prison. Wow. But yeah, Hina's actually a very scary foe for anyone who's currently on a ship. Not particularly for the Straw Hats if they weren't on their ship. Because obviously her big threat to them is that she can just stop them moving. There's no way they can get away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Cray, he saves the Straw Hats. This is his final act of penance so far.
Yes.
He
disguises himself as Luffy.
He disguises himself as Luffy. His crew disguised themselves as the Straw Hat. And they disguise their ship as the Going Merry. And they float off into the path of Hina, and she captures them. There's a really funny moment in the anime where she finds out, where he reveals, like, hey, I'm not really Straw Hat.
Yeah.
And he's, I can't remember the exact wording, but she's, like, chewing him out, and he's like, bring it, bitch! So they go at it, and he gets captured. Unfortunately, that is the last that we will see of Cray for a good long while. Except for a cover story, which actually explains what happens to him after this, and how he gets to where he is.
Well, I'll keep an eye out for that.
So, in the end, they're waiting for Vivi, and she comes to the cliff.
Yes.
And they're like, yes, this is it. We've come with us. We're gonna take you with us. But she's got a dendemushi with her, a snail phone.
Yes, the snail
and
phones.
There are several different types of snail phones, but the one that she has is essentially a PA system.
Yeah.
So she has Igaram back at the royal palace, in her posing as her, trying to hold off for as long as he can, so that she can get here, so that she can deliver her speech here rather than there.
Yes. Yeah.
So she delivers her speech, and the Straw Hats are like, she asks, if we meet again, will we still be friends? And Luffy is about to yell, of course we will. But the Marines are right there, and if they admit that Vivi has been not just friends with pirates, but travelling with them, and, like, fighting alongside them, that's going to cause real trouble for her. So Nami stops him, and they decide they turn their backs, and Vivi's like, okay, well, I can't do anything about it. And then they hold up the bands that they put up.
Yes, the X marks on their wrists. It's the best panel. I love it so much.
And that is how we see them sail away. And that is the final panel closing out the Alabasta arc.
Yes. God damn. I love it so much. So, yeah. I mean, I gotta say, like, in terms of this box set, like, the way they split it up, the arc and everything, that is the best way they could have possibly ended it.
Well, it's
so
not...
thank God for that, and frankly, I can't wait to see what's next.
The fact that they ended it like that is fantastic, because I said earlier that the arc that everyone tells you to get to if you want to get into the series, is to get to Nami and the Fishman Island, her backstory. But this is the one that everyone considers to be where One Piece showed its true colours in how good it can really be. Not just in terms of the characters, but it showed that the story was much, much bigger than we thought it was going to be, and much better planned out.
Yes, absolutely.
So this was really the best way to end a first box set.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what to say, in terms of closing thoughts.
Well, I guess we can go over characters.
I think it's Yeah, okay, that's fair. So yeah, you got any particular ones you want to start off with?
I mean, the obvious Cray. He is my favourite.
Yes. Yeah, he is fantastic. I do know that the Okama idea comes back. There are more characters who follow that doctrine.
More, and they're probably my favourite part of the series. Like, there are really, really good characters all the way throughout, but there's something about the Okama, like, their entire thing is freedom, and I love it, because they're like the piratiest without being pirates. So yeah.
It's pretty great.
I just love that.
Can't get this damn book back.
The reason I wanted to bring up Cray first is that he's sort of emblematic of One Piece as a series in that he is utterly ridiculous. He is... Superficially, you could very easily mistake him for a caricature of the queer community. Especially at the time...
Yeah, at first that is how it's
especially at the time that it was written and in the context of Japan at the time. But he is given... He's given so much respect as a character that even though he is a caricature, definitely, like, there's no way you could call him anything else. Every single character is a caricature, and every single caricature is something more than that besides.
Yes, I think that is definitely the strength of Oda's character writing, is that he presents these characters in this very simple way that, just lets you in on what they're generally about, but then he expands on it so much further. It's like, Luffy isn't just the dumb one. He's the dumb one with all this extra character behind it. And yeah, like you said with Cray, that's absolutely the same. He starts off as this stereotype, and then over time you see more and more facets of his personality, and you realize just what a cool guy he is.
When the Okama finally do come in, they are given equally as much respect in that they genuinely... They are a fantastic representation of the queer community. They're taken over the top like everything else, but Oda has this way of, if he considers a character to be a good guy, he will highlight as much as possible their good features. And if he considers a character to be a bad guy, he will highlight as much as possible their bad features. And Oda puts so much focus on highlighting the Okama's love of freedom, their acceptance of lifestyles, their their willingness to take on anyone, no matter what creed they come from.
That is definitely a very powerful message. I'd say probably one of my favourite characters would be Dr. Hirolook, Chopper's mentor. So, yeah, his whole thing about, the true spirit of being a doctor, or being someone who wants to help people,
The metaphor of the deadly disease that he was saved from, not being the disease that he died from eventually, but the disease of not caring for others, only caring for himself.
Yes, absolutely.
And how once he was freed of that, his entire mission became to free others of it. That I really like what he was given as a storyline. Especially because it was never outright stated. You're left to imply it.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I feel like there's generally a lot to read into with these. Like, on the surface, it is a standard shonen, adventure story, but there is so much, depth to so many of the characters. There's so much, so much nuance to them that you can read into, and it just makes the whole thing, so much more of a how do I put this? There's a lot to chew on, really.
And also,
go on. It's the kind of story where even if you do, catch up to where the story is currently, up to chapter 900 and whatever it is, there's still so much more that you can go back and revisit and keep discovering new things about it.
So, to give you an example of that, I guarantee you've no idea of this, but you have already met 3 key figures in Gold Roger's pirate crew.
Okay, right, yeah, no, I had no idea about that.
Obviously, I'm not going to spoil who they were, but...
No? Okay.
No, sorry, you've met 4 key figures.
Oh. Okay, then. I suppose I'll see eventually
you definitely
who they
will,
are.
And you will love each and every one of them. For different reasons.
Sure.
Very different reasons. Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely feel like, at the end of this, we've settled into a sort of something of a routine where it's going to be, very much each arc, more or less, is going to be Straw Hats visit an island, meet a new character, solve some conflict, move on. Give or take.
Actually.
No? Okay.
I would actually say that at this point, obviously, you've not seen much of the story yet. You've only seen really the beginnings of it. We've not even met half the crew yet.
Yeah. Well, fair enough.
But Oda really paces it well in that we still haven't met the last member of the crew, and we know that almost for sure because in the in the chapter where Luffy is going to find Zoro with Kobe. He tells Kobe, I'm going to find a pirate crew. About 10 people should do.
Ah, right, okay.
And it ends up being a little over that, I believe, but we still have not met all of the Straw Hat crew. And
okay.
Honestly, when he says 2/3 of the story is still remaining, he said that before. I have a sneaking suspicion it could even be closer to half.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I suppose only time will tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot to get into, and I think it's probably important to say that, obviously a lot of people who want to get into One Piece will see the 970-something chapter count and think, nope, I'm not dealing with that. I was like that for a long time, but frankly, it doesn't take that long to catch up. Like, I'm a pretty slow reader. I got through this whole thing in a couple months, and that's a good, quarter of what's there already. Like, you could catch up on One Piece reading, say 5 volumes a day. It'll take you 3 weeks or so.
And so, looking, because I don't remember the names of all the sagas. I remember the story, obviously, but I don't remember the names. And looking at the names of the sagas, because this is essentially how it's split up, is not into like each individual island, but there's sagas. So what we've read so far is the East Blue Saga and the Alabasta Saga. And
East Blue and Baroque Works.
And I can tell you, looking at these sagas, first of all, there's 7 more so far. We've read 2. And just the next saga blows this one out of the water. And then the one after that does the same again. And then the one after that is a little... It's more of a fun saga. But the one after that is widely held as, if not one of the best, the best storyline in all of manga and anime. There is this. What we have seen is the tip of the iceberg so far, and it's fantastic as it is, but it's nowhere near the heights that it will reach.
So yeah, I'm very much, thankful that there is so much more to read. We will get into that soon. But you know what? We should probably get back to sailing these high seas. Look for more of these treasure chests. And see what else lies out there. So yeah, I suppose whenever we get around to reading the rest of it, we'll do another one of these episodes. And we'll talk about box set 2. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching. If indeed you did watch to the end of this 3-hour video, thank you, and I'm sorry. Good night.
Goodbye.
There we go.